saying, what are you looking so sad about, Jan?
I'm surprised. I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I was on a Formula One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
When you've been on the tour.
What's happening, my people? It's Cass Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Story, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass. Without her, none of this would be possible. Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Box Story. Today, epic fights of the 1990s. Epic fights of the 1990s. How's the family today? It's Tuesday, still early in this big week of boxing history. And it's going to be a big week. Tomorrow, well, today the 90s. Tomorrow, we're going to talk some more about the 90s. Look in some of the fighters' backgrounds, their careers. Some of the big names, B-Hop, James Toney, Roy Jones Jr., Oscar Floyd came on the scene, Michael Second none, the heavyweights, another golden age of heavyweights, Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Big George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Razor Ruddock. Still can't believe Razor Ruddock never won a title, was never in a title fight. Okay, he fought Mike Tyson twice, but it was Mike didn't have the titles at the time. Okay. I think he fought Mike after Buster Douglas beat him before he went to prison. And then when Mike got out of prison, he won the title back. But I think Razor fought him before he got the title again. But yeah, tomorrow, the 90s, some more on the 90s. Thursday, we are going to look at a history of the Golden Gloves. Okay. And it's the first Friday of the month. So we're going to profile an active fighter this week, the life and career of Jaron Bucetis. But how's everybody today? It's Tuesday. Like I said, early in this big week of boxing history, we got Deontay Wilder and Chisora this weekend over there in Great Britain. And we got a great women's card from London. I think it's in Great Britain. We got a great women's card from London. Okay. Caroline Dubois is facing veteran fighting. And Lauren Price is putting her title on the line. Chantel Cameron in action. Big action this weekend coming up in boxing. But today, we're going to look at some fights, epic fights of the 1990s. Okay? And time permitting, our country, we've been doing countries at the end of every shows now, look at boxing in different countries. Today, time permitting, at the end of the show, it's going to be boxing in Cuba. What's up, Jaw? In the building. Salute, Jaw. How are you? Family. That's blood family. Okay, but salute, Jaw. Good to see you today. We're going to be talking about the 90s. Epic fights from the 90s. As in time permitting, we're going to look at boxing in Cuba and some of the great fighters to come out of that country. Ken Saul Love 1 in the building. Salute, Ken Saul Love 1. My two favorite people, the first two in the building, Jaw and Ken Saul Love 1. That's a sign it's going to be a great show. Okay. Epic fights of the 90s, but of course we're going to start it with our fight of the day, as we always do. Fight from the past. Don't necessarily have to be a classic. Could be a fight from last weekend. Could be Keith and Sebastian Fundora. Who knows? But it's coming up in minutes. Like right now. So without further ado, let's get into today's fight of the day. Okay. Today's fight of the day is Felix Trinidad versus Bernard Hopkins. This fight took place on September 29th, 2001. Age is nothing but a number. Age is nothing but a number. B-Hop proved that like many times. Broke George Foreman's title at 46 as the oldest man in boxing history. Broke his own record at 48 as the oldest man in boxing history. And then broke his own record again at 49. That's where it stands right now. Oldest man in boxing history. Bernard Hopkins, 49 years old. Broke George Foreman's record and his own record twice. And at the time of this fight against Trinidad, he was 36. So Bernard proved age is nothing but a number. Mike Mazik in the building. What's up, Mike Mazik? I'm gonna have to start getting some predictions from Mike on these fights and start betting on them. Mike don't usually make a lot of predictions in the chat, but when he makes them, he is usually right. Spot on. Mike said Keith was getting stopped, and Keith got stopped. But salute Mike Mazik. Good to see you today. Epic fights of the 1990s, but first the fight of the day. Felix Tito Trinidad versus Bernard B-Hop, the executioner / alien Hopkins. Let's get into it. The Felix Trinidad versus Bernard Hopkins fight was a middleweight fight held on September 29, 2001 at Madison Square Garden in New York City, serving as the final unification fight in Don King's Middleweight World Championship Series. And it was originally scheduled for September 15th, but it got postponed due to the September 11th terrorist attacks. In the fight, 36-year-old Philadelphia native Bernard Hopkins, entering with a record of 39 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw, 28 knockouts, and holding the IBF title and the newly acquired WBC title, defeated the 28-year-old undefeated Puerto Rican star Felix Trinidad. Tito came in with a 40-0 record with 33 knockouts, and Tito had the WBA belt. Bihop won by TKO in the 12th and final round at 1 minute 18 seconds after dropping Tito with a right hand. Felix Trinidad, known as Tito, rose to prominence as a welterweight champion with the IBF title from 1993 to 1999, unifying it with the WBC belt in a majority decision victory over Oscar De La Hoya in 1999 before moving up to super welterweight, where he won the WBC title by 12th round TKO over David Reed in March 2000. Then he unified it with the WBA belt by unanimous decision over Fernando Vargas in December 2001. December 2000. Excuse me. Against William Joppy on May 12th, extending his unbeaten streak and establishing himself as a 2-1 betting favorite against Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins, nicknamed the Executioner, had long reigned as IBF middleweight champion since 1995, making 12 successful defenses, and added the WBC title with a unanimous decision over Keith Holmes on April 14, 2001, positioning the matchup as a path to undisputed status, the first since Marvin Hagler in 1980. 21 years. The event was billed as "And Then There Was One," or the name I gave it, age is just a number. It generated 475,000 pay-per-view buys and $20.4 million in revenue, marking the first major boxing spectacle post 9/11. From the outset, Hopkins employed a masterful counterpunching strategy, frustrating Trinidad's aggressive pressure with precise jabs and body shots, building a commanding lead through the early rounds, while Trinidad struggled to find range at the higher weight class. The 10th round, highlighted by intense exchanges and Trinidad's brief rally, was named the Ring Magazine's Round of the Year for 2001. In the 12th round, Hopkins landed a devastating right hand that floored Trinidad, prompting his father and trainer, Felix Trinidad Sr., to throw in the towel and end the fight, handing Trinidad his first professional defeat. Hopkins weighed in for the fight at 157 pounds, Trinidad at 159, under the middleweight limit. The victory propelled Hopkins into a dominant era as he defended the undisputed title 6 times over the next 3 years and extended his career longevity to become one of boxing's most accomplished champions with 20 middleweight title defenses overall. For Trinidad, the loss ended his undefeated run and led to a brief retirement in 2002, though he returned unsuccessfully before retiring for good again in 2008. His legacy intact, as a 3-division world champion with 35 knockouts in 45 fights. Widely regarded as Hopkins' signature performance and one of the greatest upsets in modern boxing, the fight underscored tactical mastery over raw power and symbolized resilience in the sport following national tragedy. Okay, let's take a look at the fighters real quick. Tito Trinidad first. Take a look at Tito. Then we're going to get to the fight. Okay. Now, Felix Trinidad entered this fight against Bernard Hopkins with an undefeated pro record of 40-0, including 33 knockouts, having dominated the welterweight division for nearly a decade. His ascent began with a string of title defenses at 147 pounds, culminating in a high-profile unification victory over Oscar De La Hoya on September 18, 1999, where he captured the WBC welterweight title by majority decision. This win solidified Trinidad's status as Puerto Rico's premier boxer and set the stage for his transition to higher weight classes. Following the De La Hoya fight, Trinidad moved up to super welterweight, 154 pounds, first securing the WBA title with a third-round TKO over Mamadou Thiam on July 22, 2000. He then unified the division by stopping Fernando Vargas in the 12th round on December 2, 2000, claiming the IBF super welterweight crown in a brutal encounter that highlighted his relentless pressure. Eager to conquer middleweight, Trinidad made his debut at 160 pounds by dismantling WBA champion William Joppy with a 5th-round TKO on May 12, 2001, dropping Joppy 3 times en route to victory. These triumphs extended his perfect record while showcasing his adaptability against taller, more durable opponents. Trinidad's success stemmed from his training under his father, Felix Trinidad Sr., a former pro boxer himself, who instilled an aggressive, power-punching style, emphasizing volume and devastating hooks. This approach, characterized by forward pressure and knockout intent, had produced an 82.5% stoppage rate across his career. Heading into the Hopkins matchup on September 29, 2001, Trinidad was installed as a 2-to-1 betting favorite, buoyed by a guaranteed purse of $9 million that reflected his marketability and perceived invincibility. Okay, let's take a look at B-Hop and then the fight. Bernard Hopkins. Al Booger in the building. What's up, Al Booger? The fight of the day, Felix Trinidad versus Bernard Hopkins. September 29th, 2001. Age is just the number. Okay, let's take a look at B-Hop now. Let's salute Al Booger. Now, Bernard Hopkins entered the unification fight against Felix Trinidad as the long-reigning WBC middleweight champion, having held the title since winning it in 1995 and compiling an impressive record of 39 wins, 2 losses with 1 draw, 28 knockouts. By September 2001, his tenure at 160 pounds was marked by unrelenting dominance, including 12 successful title defenses prior to the Trinidad matchup, showcasing his ability to dismantle skilled opponents with tactical precision. Among these victories were a unanimous decision over Glenn Johnson in July 1997, where Hopkins outboxed a durable contender over 12 rounds to retain his belt, and a unanimous decision over Keith Holmes on April 4th, 2001, which not only extended his streak, but also captured the WBA middleweight title while retaining the IBF belt, setting the stage for full unification in the division. Hopkins' approach to the fight was driven A personal milestone, tying Carlos Monzon's record of 14 consecutive middleweight title defenses, a feat that would cement his legacy as one of the division's all-time greats. At 36 years old, he was positioned as a skilled underdog against the unbeaten Trinidad, who had recently claimed the WBA middleweight crown. But Hopkins' experience and ring IQ made him a formidable counterpuncher in the matchup. His defensive jab-heavy boxing style, characterized by sharp footwork, clinch work, and devastating body shots, had been honed during his nearly 5 years in prison as a teenager, where he first took up boxing to channel his energy, and further refined under veteran trainer English Bowie Fischer, who emphasized endurance and strategic aggression from the mid-1990s onward. Financially, the fight represented a significant payday for Hopkins, with a guaranteed purse of $2.5 million, a stark contrast to Trinidad's $9 million, reflecting the challenger's underdog status. To underscore his confidence, Hopkins secured a $100,000 sponsorship deal to display an advertisement on his back during the fight, which he then wagered on himself at 4-1 odds, turning it into a $400,000 payout after his victory. This bold move exemplified Hopkins' self-assured mindset, rooted in years of proving doubters wrong through his ironclad preparation and unyielding ring generalship. Okay, let's get to the fight now. Mike Rem in the building. Mike Rem. Just in time for the round-by-round breakdown of this fight. Yeah, B-Hop, I forgot what the sponsorship was, but a sponsor paid him $100,000 to advertise their company on his back. And B-Hop took them $100,000 and betted at 4-1 on himself, turned it into $400,000. A shrewd move by B-Hop. Yes. That's the confidence he had in himself, and it paid off. Yep. Okay, so let's look at Bernard Hopkins and Tito Trinidad. Showdown. Again, September 29th, 2001. Age is just a number. Okay, let's look at the fight now. Here we go. Fighters a day. The fight began with a cautious approach from both boxers, as Hopkins utilized his superior reach and footwork to maintain distance while firing jabs to probe Trinidad's defenses. In rounds 1 through 3, Trinidad Waters with probing hooks, but Hopkins' lateral movement and clinches disrupted his rhythm, allowing the Philadelphia native to control the pace before absorbing significant damage. Momentum shifted slightly in rounds 4 through 6, where Trinidad ramped up his aggression, landing body shots and left hooks to back Hopkins toward the ropes, particularly in the 6th round, which marked his strongest showing as he connected with multiple power punches. Hopkins responded effectively in the later stages of round 6, with counters, including a crisp right hand to regain composure and prevent Trinidad from building sustained pressure. This period highlighted Trinidad's reliance on volume punching against Hopkins' disciplined ring generalship. From rounds 7 to 9, Hopkins asserted dominance through precise combinations and superior mobility, as Trinidad began to tire from the earlier exertion and missed several big swings. In round 8, Hopkins landed a series of uppercuts and hooks that staggered Trinidad momentarily, capitalizing on his opponent's advancing style to turn the fight into a showcase of his technical mastery. Trinidad's power attempts grew less effective, underscoring Hopkins' strategy of feints, clinches, and counterpunching to neutralize the Puerto Ricans' offensive threats. Old School is back today. What's up, Old School? Reports from the Angry White Men, Fridays at 10. Salute, Old School. Working our way through the fight of the day. It's Felix Trinidad versus Bernard Hopkins. Okay, let's continue. But salute, Old School. Good to see you again, bro. Okay, getting late in the fight now. Going toward the championship rounds. Hopkins has got a pretty good lead, too. The action intensified in rounds 10 and 11, featuring back and forth exchanges that tested both fighters' resolve. Round 10 was named the Ring Magazine's Round of the Year for 2001 due to its relentless trading of blows. It saw Trinidad mount a desperate flurry, but ultimately yield to Hopkins' sharper counters, including a late uppercut that left Trinidad unsteady. Hopkins' overall ring generalship, emphasizing distance control and opportunistic power, contrasted with Trinidad's attempts to impose his aggression, setting the stage for a grueling finish. While Hopkins had landed 260 or 653 total punches compared to Trinidad's 125 or 129 going into the finish. Now the finish and the official result. Finish in the 12th and final round, Bernard Hopkins landed a decisive right hand to Felix Trinidad's chin at 1 minute 8 seconds of the round, sending the Puerto Rican star to the canvas for the first knockout of the fight. The Trinidad, appearing unsteady but determined, rose to his feet at the count of 8 by referee Steve Smoger. As the action resumed, Trinidad's father and trainer, Felix Trinidad Sr., entered the ring at 118, signaling an end to the fight to protect his son from further damage. Referee Smoger immediately halted the contest, rewarding Hopkins a technical knockout victory. Prior to the stoppage, unofficial records, scorecards from HBO showed Hopkins leading decisively, 109-100 by one judge and 107-102 by the other two. The win elevated Hopkins to undisputed middleweight champion status, as he claimed Trinidad's IBF middleweight title to go along with his existing WBC and WBA middleweight belts. 3-belt undisputed at that time. A WBO was in existence, but it wasn't one of the big four yet. It was the big three. Okay? And also, along with the Ring Magazine's middleweight championship. In the immediate aftermath, Trinidad was visibly dazed and supported by his corner as Hopkins celebrated the career-defining triumph. There you have it, the fight of the day. There's your winner, B-Hop. Bernard B-Hop /alien/executioner Hopkins. Okay, so now, epic fights of the 1990s today. Okay, is Holyfield and Bo right there. Okay, let's get ready to get this thing on the road. Epic fights of the 90s. Okay, and time permitting, we're going to continue our look at boxing in countries at the end of the show. Today will be Cuba. We did United States Friday after the John the Beef McGarvey profile. We did Mexico yesterday after the 30 years of welterweight wars. And today, if we get through the epic fights of the 90s, we're going to take a look at boxing in Cuba. Okay, we're going to go around the world at countries at the end of the shows. Just a brief look at boxing in different countries. Okay, but now epic fights of the 90s. Okay? How's everybody this Tuesday afternoon? Still early in this big week of boxing history we are embarking on. Let's get into it. Okay? We got old school, Mike Grimm, Al Booger, Mike Mazik, Kensaw Love 1, Jaw, and Miss Cass in the building so far. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Appreciate you stopping by, though. Okay? But please enjoy the show, too. All right, let's go. You're Holyfield and bold. It's the introductory picture. Now, today, we are going to reflect on some of the greatest battles to occur during one of the finest boxing eras of all time. Okay? In the 1990s, the pay-per-view model took flight. Money flooded into the game, and anything seemed possible. The 90s is an era fans vividly remember for both good and bad reasons. The Holyfield vs. Tyson bite fight looms large in the collective consciousness, but though it cast a pall for a time, we should not forget that the first fight between the pair attracted worldwide attention, while being thought of as one of the all-time great upsets. Okay? We can't forget that first fight between the two. Although the bite fight was kind of bad. And there it is. Took a chunk out of the man's ear. Other than Holyfield and Tyson, elsewhere, Roy Jones Jr. cut a swath through 3 weight divisions. Oscar De La Hoya launched a charm offensive, bolstered by a weapons-grade left hook. Theatrical featherweight Nassim Hamed redefined showmanship and stretched hubris to its limits. Colonel Sweet Pea Whitaker established himself as an all-time great. A supposedly over-the-hill Big George Foreman blunt forced his way to the title 20 years after losing it in 1974 in the Rumble in the Jungle. He won it back in 1994. Okay? All this in the 90s. What a decade. Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales, and Johnny Tapia made a lot of noise in the lower weights. And on it went. Just as the class of the 80s had responded to the gauntlet thrown down by their 1970s forebears, 1990s stars met the standards of proof required of a golden generation. It had terrific action fights, bitter rivalries, blockbuster unifications, crushing knockouts, and magnetic personality. Okay, so let's look at some of these epic fights of the 90s then. All right, let's get into it. That was an epic fight of the 90s, and that was one of those great welterweight wars of the past 30 years that we talked about yesterday. Oscar and Purnell. That ain't first, though. I don't even know why I had that there, to tell you the truth. Okay, let's get started. We're going to start with 1990. Now, with the 80s last week, we did it on 2 different days, but this week we're going to do all this in one day. Okay. And the first, well, I don't have pictures of all of them, but, you know, like pictures of like every other one, so. But the first one is 1990s. Aaron Davis versus Mark Breland. Aaron Davis versus Mark Breland. Now, this battle of New Yorkers, one a decorated amateur and 2-time world champion, The other an unbeaten but raw contender. Lit up Reno in the summer of 1990. Free swinging Davis repeatedly buzzed Breland and dropped him in the third round. But the Brooklyn Knights' pedigree shone through as the fight wore on, and he even came close to stopping Davis in the 8th round. But Superman's counter-right knockout a round later is one of the best you will ever see. So y'all got your pens and papers and stuff out? Okay. Julio Cesar Chavez versus Meldrick Taylor 1. Talking about the 90s, you got to mention this very briefly. We're going over these fights, though. Now, you would need a heart of stone not to feel a little sorry for Meldrick Taylor, as he was stopped with just 2 seconds remaining at the end of a brutal and thrilling 12-round fight with Julio Cesar Chavez. This fight was dubbed Thunder and Lightning. This absorbing conflict between the planet's premier super lightweights at the time delivered non-stop excitement, with Speedster Taylor working his butt off and outscoring a relentless opponent who did plenty of damage himself. The finale was both heroic and heartbreaking, especially if he was a huge Meldrick Taylor. What that win would have done for his career. He would be a household name. He would have been the man to break that. I think Julio had about 89 by the time that fight won, because I think he had 87 against Whitaker, and I think he had a fight in between Whitaker and Chavez. I think he had like 89-0. Just what a win would have done for Taylor if he could have pulled that one off. But like Al Booker said last week, blame Lou Duva and Meldrick. Don't blame Richard Steele. He's just doing his job. Because Lou Duva, again, was up on the apron. Richard Steele was giving the 8 counter. He was asking Meldrick Taylor a question, and Meldrick didn't respond because he was trying to listen to Richard Steele and Lou Duva. Now, I don't know what Lou Duva was doing up on the apron. The fight wasn't over yet. Okay. But yeah. Chris Eubank versus Nigel Benn 1. An explosion of violence and enmity was expected when bitter rivals Eubank and Benn squared off in the biggest British battle of the year, possibly of all time. The Dark Destroyer had the pedigree, but consummate showman Eubank posed self-belief and rode out the storm on an emotional night, enduring some torrid moments to finally haul his harasser in the 9th round. 9th round stoppage for Eubank. Those two fighters are part of what they call the British invasion in the 1990s. With Michael Watson. Yep. Some other British fighters of that period. Ray Mercer versus Bert Cooper. That was a doozy. A talented but inconsistent former Joe Frazier protege, Smoking Bert Cooper was seen by most as a stepping stone in gold medalist Mercer's march to heavyweight contention. But Cooper had other plans, displaying spirit and energy many thought he lacked. Big Bert forced Mercer into a brawl that brought the best out of both men in a grueling distance fight. Mercer got the decision, but what a fight it was. Went the distance. Okay, 1991. Epic fights of the 1990s. Robert Quiroga versus Akeem Anthopoulos. Okay. I don't know what I said, but this is what I was trying to say. There we go. Akeem Anthopoulos I guess. Okay, that's who it was. Robert Quiroga versus Hakeem. These undefeated junior bantamweights set a tireless pace from the opening bell to the last. Although Kid Hakeem surrendered his reach advantage, he gave just as good as he got in a close quarters brawl. In the end, the Texan overcame a deep cut to defend his belt by decision. Sadly, Kid Hakeem died just 3 years later in his native Nigeria, while Quiroga was stabbed to death in 2004. Yes, sadly. Almost like a little over 10 years after this fight, both of the fighters were dead. Yup. Hakeem died just 3 years later in 2004. Quiroga was stabbed to death, but Quiroga did win the fight. Okay. Evander Holyfield versus Bert Cooper. Bert Cooper again. Yeah, Bert Cooper was in some doozies in the 90s. Surprised a few people. Now, he kept losing in his biggest fights against the big names, but he gave all of them some doozies, okay? Now, Holyfield had already participated in one of the great heavyweight slugfests of the 80s against Michael Doak. And his title defense against late sub Bert Cooper was every bit as entertaining. A beautiful left hook to the body crumpled Cooper in the first round. But the underdog roared back, crashing Holyfield into the ropes in the third, and giving a great account of himself until his courageous stand was brutally terminated in the seventh round. Holyfield stopped him in round 7. Holyfield Cooper, a great fight. 1991. Mike McCallum versus Sambu Kalambe. 2. The Body Snatcher. A slick boxer, Kalambe had pocketed McCallum's O in Italy 3 years earlier, but having been sensationally poleaxed by Michael Nunn in the interim, he was a slight underdog in this rematch. He had beat McCallum 3 years earlier, but he was still an underdog coming in. In front of a sparse Monaco crowd, the pair produced another fascinating chess match. It went right to the wire. The Body Snatcher exacted revenge by the slimmest of margins. Slim decision for the Body Snatcher. Ray Mercer again. Ray Mercer versus Tommy Morrison. Yeah, this was a brutal knockout. An all-action heavyweight showdown, plus a riveting come-from-behind win that will forever be remembered for its almost sickening conclusion. What shouldn't be forgotten is that this was also a rare high-risk clash between young, undefeated warriors who were both looking ahead to even bigger opportunities in the near future. Yeah, they put the O on the line. Mercer won by stoppage. Sickening stoppage. But they got in there and put their O's on the line. Okay? And then the Body Snatcher again. This time, James Lights Out Tony versus Mike McCallum won. They had a great trilogy. We covered that one. Yeah. Great trilogy. Now, the hotshot student, James Toney, versus the wise old sage, Mike McCallum. That was the narrative for the first meeting between the Body Snatcher and Lights Out. Strangely, it was a veteran who was busier, endlessly popping his jab and working the body of the young champion, who impressed with his own crisp, powerful flurries. A rematch was inevitable after the judges scored it a draw. But in all honesty, there was very little to separate these two maestros on this night. Yep. The first fight was a draw. I believe Lights Out won the second and third. Okay, but yeah, great fight. The draw might have been the best of the three. Mm-hmm. Mike Tyson versus Razor Ruddock won. And it's still hard to believe Razor Ruddock never won a title. Remember we did the show on the best fighters who never won a title? I couldn't believe it. Razor Ruddock was never even in a title fight. Okay? This was 1991. This was after Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas, and before he went to prison, he didn't have a title then. And then I think Razor Ruddock Tyson 2 was after he got out of prison, before he won a title back, before Tyson won a title back. So your Razor not only didn't win a title, he was never in a title fight. That's hard to believe, but yes, that's a fact. But Tyson versus Razor Ruddock won. Now Donovan Razor Ruddock was big enough, skilled enough, and man enough to give a Sterling Tyson all he could handle. Of course, this was a Tyson close enough to his prime to make the project painful. In an intensely physical brawl, perhaps the most exciting in the Tyson canon, Ruddock was staggered, down, hurt, and eventually stopped in controversial fashion. After 7 gripping rounds, predictably enough, the rematch was a slobber knocker too. Okay? Yeah, rematch was the same type of fight between these two. Now, this was a classic hit. No one expected this fight to go like it did. Evander Holyfield versus Big George Foreman. And the second coming of Big George, right? Big George was 4 years and 24 wins into an unlikely comeback when he received his shot at the heavyweight championship held by Evander Holyfield. The 42-year-old surprised most experts by fighting competitively and lasting the distance in an exciting but clear decision loss, demonstrating that he remained a viable contender. As George noted after the fight, Evander had the points, but I made the point, okay? Big George said Holyfield had the points, but I made the point. Big George Foreman. Like 3 years later, he won the title back. That's in here. Got to be. Talking about great fights of the 90s. Big George winning that title got to be. It's like a crime if you don't have Big George in here. Better be in here. Chris Eubank versus Michael Watson, too. Michael Watson was another member of the British invasion. Now, most observers felt that Watson had beaten Eubank 3 months earlier. But this quick-fire rematch promised to settle the score. As intense as their first battle had been, the return raised the level, with both warriors bringing their A-game. Gradually, Watson imposed himself and began to beat his rival down, only for an under-siege Eubank to claim a late-round TKO. Tragically, Watson suffered a brain bleed and endured years of rehabilitation after this fateful contest. Yep. That's boxing. That's what I said yesterday when, like Margarito, loading up hand wraps and stuff, you should be banned permanently. Because this man suffered a brain bleed up against a fighter that was in there fighting fairly, with just hands and hand wraps in the gloves. Anytime a fighter adding foreign substance to the hand wraps, he should be banned permanently. The man got a brain bleed in a fair fight, and this fool in there, Margarito, putting cement in his hand wraps, plaster of Paris. That should be permanent banishment. I don't know why they let him come back. When Louis Resto did it against Billy Collins, he not only got banned permanently, he went to prison. Him and his trainer did a few years in prison for that. They didn't charge Margarito or nothing. He just got suspended. That should be permanent banishment. Loading up the hand wraps. Okay? All right, this one. Okay. Get with me for 1 second. I'm not even gonna try. Y'all got to do this one yourself. Tune in like 20 minutes from now when I finish putting his name in. Okay. There it is. Anybody know what that is? Muang Chai Kitakasim. That's right. Muang Chai Kitakasim. Or MK. MK versus Jung Koo Chang. Now, although the opening rounds featured more clinching than punching, the action ratcheted up as the flyweight swapped countless power punches in this exhausting affair. Chang scored knockdowns in the 5th and 11th rounds to take the lead, but ultimately it was the Thai champion's superior physicality that broke the Korean Hawk. MK scored a pair of knockdowns in the final round to stop the exhausted challenger in front of his countrymen. Yeah, the fight was in South Korea, Jung Koo Chang's country, but the Thai fighter, MK, won it. Okay. All right. Azuma Nelson versus Jeff Fenech, 1. Azuma Nelson versus Jeff Fenech, 1. These two bulldogs met in the sunshine at the Mirage, contesting the Ghanaians WBC on the undercard of Mike Tyson versus Razor Ruddock 2. Now, both street fighters had their moments in an electrifying phone booth war, with the professor retaining by unpopular draw. Fenech attempting to win gold in a 4th weight division was rarely better than he was in this fight. But he didn't get the nod, it was a draw, so Azuma Nelson kept his titles. Okay, let's go to 1992 now. 1992. James Lights Out Tony versus Mike McCallum 2. It was a great trilogy. First 2 fights on here. Now this time it was at super middleweight. I think the first one was at middleweight. This was at super middleweight. Since their hotly contested first fight, IBF champion Tony oozed confidence in this rematch and arguably delivered his finest ever performance. Not that it was all plain sailing. McCallum gave the younger man all he could handle. The pair matching each other in virtually every department through 12 engrossing rounds. To this day, to the day he died, McCallum insists he won this fight. Okay, but yeah, Lights Out got the nod. First one was a draw, Lights Out won the second one. I think the third one is on the list too. Epic fights of the 90s. We're in 1992. Got a ways to go, wow. Julian Jackson versus Thomas Tate. Jackson versus Tate marked the first time the Hawk had completed 12 rounds in a career spanning 11 years and 45 fights, okay? This man had been fighting for 11 years and 45 fights. That's the kind of power he had. This was the first time he ever went 12 rounds, went the distance, okay? Went 12 rounds. Because he probably went the distance when he was a prospect or something like 4 rounds, 6 rounds. But first time he ever went 12. Causing a formidable slugger to later dub Tate owner of the best chin he'd faced. Ice-T boxed determinedly on this night. His spearing jab, slick footwork, and all-round ring craft helped him survive a 4th round knockdown. He even hurt Jackson on occasion. But the Hawk took a well-earned unanimous decision in the end. 45 first time he went 12 rounds. The Hawk. And here's Bert Cooper again. Told you Bert Cooper was in some big fights, but he kept losing his main ones against the big names. Bert Cooper versus Michael Moorer. Now, thanks to the perennially inconsistent Cooper showing up with bad intentions, fans were treated to a heavyweight war for the ages that began with a wild first round, with both men tasting the canvas. The Kronk product ended matters in the fifth after a devastating right uppercut and straight left sent Cooper to the canvas and rendered him too woozy to continue. Yeah, so the Cooper kept fighting big names, but he kept losing the big fights. Yeah, he got knocked out in this one in the fifth by Michael Moorer. Riddick Bowe versus Evander Holyfield won. This was probably the best one in that series. Bowe Holyfield won. There were some thrilling heavyweight fights in the 90s, but this showdown tops them all. They traded relentlessly back and forth, with the action reaching a crescendo in a brilliant 10th round that'll go down as one of the division's most exhilarating rounds. Holyfield's implacable will to win kept him in a contention, but ultimately Bowe's size, skills, and dogged determination proved too much as Big Daddy became the undisputed champion after this fight. Azuma Nelson versus Jeff Fenech 2. Nelson Fenech 2. The great Azuma Nelson underlines his supremacy and put controversy to bed by conquering the home favorite in Melbourne, Australia. Remember the first fight, they thought it was a draw, but they thought Fenech had won it. So Nelson said, I'm going to take care of business this time. And he went to Melbourne to do it. After being decked twice early, the hard-charging Aussie fought back into contention before Nelson, with his back to the ropes, knocked him onto his heels and dropped him heavily. Fenech gamely rose, but with Nelson teeing off, the referee had no choice but to intervene and stop the fight. Yeah, Nelson stopped him the second time. Kennedy McKinney versus Welcome to Cedar 1. Now, Tortoli, Sardinia isn't the exact first place you think of when reminiscing on great boxing duels, but it was the venue for the awesome contest between unbeaten super bantamweights Kennedy McKinney and Welcome to Cedar. Former cocaine addict McKinney got his act together in his maiden title fight, though he had to come through the fire to do it. Cedar had him down in the 10th round, only for McKinney to score an improbable knockout in round 11. 1993. Michael Carbajal versus Humberto Gonzalez 1. Another great trilogy of the decade. They had some trilogies in that decade. Wow. Now, the junior flyweight unification between unbeaten Michael Carbajal and Humberto Gonzalez was history-making. The pair became the first fighters in their division to earn $1 million for one fight. Dubbed La Explosion, the highly anticipated shootout featured no end of toe-to-toe exchanges, with switch-hitting Gonzalez bowling forward and bowling Carbajal over in the second and fifth rounds, only for Little Hands of Stone to pull a spectacular 7th round stoppage. Your Little Hands of Stone, Michael Carbajal. Little Hands of Stone. Okay, here's the fan man debacle. And Bowe was definitely the more effective. We talked about that. Riddick Bowe versus Evander Holyfield 2, the Fan Man fight. The 1 year after losing his title in a classic encounter to Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield exacted revenge by a narrow decision in a fight that was almost as exciting as a paraglider who gate crashed the ring in round 7. 2 years later, with no titles on the line, they met for the rubber match in a fight that was arguably the fiercest of the trilogy. Bowe came back from the brink of defeat to stop Holyfield for the first time in his career. And remember, when Fan Man crashed in, Riddick Bowe's wife was pregnant and she was in the audience and she fainted and they had to take her to the hospital. And Bowe finished the fight after that, so he had to be effective. It was still a close split decision for Holyfield. So if that don't happen, Bowe wins this fight going away. Yeah, he was clearly the more affected by that Fan Man debacle. But Fan Man took the worst beating that night because see where he landed? Guess who's sitting right behind that ring post? Riddick Bowe's entourage. And they took his ropes that was draped and bounced him over there to them and beat him unconscious. Okay? Fan Man was taken to the hospital. Then from the hospital, he was taken to jail. Yup. And years later, they found him dead up in some forest up in the Northwest somewhere. He had just been gone for weeks. Yup. Found him up there dead. Fan Man. Mm-hmm. But there he is. He ain't crashing in. They say some people ran up out of there. I would have been in that camp. And it was outside, right? This man dressed in red come crashing into the ring. I'm getting up out of there. I say, Miss Cass, you better keep up. You better get to the truck before I do, because if you don't, you're going to have to find some more transportation. I'm gone. Yeah, Fan Man. They said some people actually left the building. Oh, Fan Man. That was crazy. Yup. Okay. Julio Cesar Chavez versus Pernell Whitaker. Talked about this yesterday, but it's worth talking about again. This clash of perennial pound for pounders was a dream for purists, pitting Whitaker's slick, elusive brand of pugilism against Chavez's seek and destroy savagery. In front of a pro-Chavez crowd of 65,000, the Mexican had his moments, but failed to impose himself as an inspired sweet pea, busily and expertly outboxed him, only for the judges to again scandalously call it a draw. A true robbery. Yeah, that was part of the biggest robbery of the decade right there. Yeah, they called it a draw. Damn near 12-0. Chavez had his moments, but not 12-0, maybe like 10-2. Okay, to 1994. Jorge Fernando Castro versus John David Jackson. Smooth boxing John David Jackson was fighting to regain his middleweight belt against the relatively crude Jorge Castro. And for 9 rounds, it appeared he would succeed as he largely dominated an exciting fight. But in the 9th round, Action Jackson had Castro on the verge of a stoppage defeat when a left hook from nowhere turned the fight around in an instant, granting Castro a comeback knockout win in the fight of the year. Yep, Ring Magazine's fight of the year. That's boxing's the only sport like that. You can be getting shut out and one punch can turn the entire fight around. In the last round, right? You're losing a football game 30-0 in the 4th quarter. One touchdown ain't gonna win it for you. But you can be losing a boxing fight 11-0 in the 12th round and one punch can win the fight for you. Boxing is the only sport like that. The greatest sport of them all. And that's why we love it and can't get enough of it. Okay? Frankie Randall versus Julio Cesar Chavez won. This was his first loss. He was something like, I think he was 89-0. something like that. Yeah, Frankie Randall. But then he beat Randall in the rematch. Frankie Randall versus Julio Cesar Chavez won. The Randall fought the fight of his life as he consistently landed crisp combinations and answered every one of Chavez's flurries. The icing on the cake was a picture-perfect right hand in the 11th round that knocked the Mexican down. It earned Randall the split decision and snapped Chavez's 90-fight unbeaten streak. Yeah, 90-0. Because I think the sweepy fight was 89-0, I believe. Randall was next, so he was 90-0 coming in. And if Randall don't get that knockdown in the 11th round, they would have stole that one too. Probably called that a draw. Don King was mixed up in all that because he promoted Chavez and he was marketing that. You think they marketed the floor as 50-0? How about 90-0? Yep. Randall needed that knockdown in the 11th round. Although I don't think he needed it. He should have had it one anyway. But if he didn't get that, they would have took that from him. At least would have called it a draw. He wouldn't have got the decision. And then they made it a split decision. Yeah. So if without that knockdown, he probably loses. Felix Trinidad versus Yuri Boyd Campos. Yuri Boyd Campos. Thanks to Chavez's defeat the week before, Campos, at 56 and over 50 knockouts, was on boxing's longest undefeated run at the time, and looked set to continue after he floored Tito with a beautiful left hook in the second round. But why did he? That's where he made his mistake at when he knocked Tito down. Because once Tito got knocked down, it was on. That's where he made his mistake at. He dropped Tito in the second. Then, in typical Trinidad fashion, the Puerto Rican rose from the canvas to win a war, rowing back to stop the veteran. Still on his feet, but taking an absolute pounding in the fourth round of this fine addition to the Puerto Rico-Mexico rivalry. Yeah, he made his mistake when he knocked Tito down. A fighter's trainer should tell him, whatever you do, don't knock him down. If you knock him down, you better stop Tito. Don't let him get back up, because it's on then. And it didn't take Tito long. After he got knocked down in the second round, he stopped him in the fourth. Okay. Michael Carvajal versus Humberto Gonzalez 2. Gonzalez 2. Second fight between these two. Great trilogy. Yeah, Gonzalez looked kind of beat up there. Wow. As in their first meeting, Humberto Gonzalez suffered a nasty cut. But this time he prevailed over his great rival in their Inglewood rematch. The champion fought frantically to retain his titles, but Gonzalez avoided most of Carvajal's bombs while boxing cleverly from both stances to earn the win. Yeah, Gonzalez was a switch hitter too. And they were way down there. 1995. Like 105. 1995. Oh man, here we go again. Simon Sojachiron versus Humberto Gonzalez. Okay, here's Chiquita again. Chiquita Gonzalez. After rising from the canvas in round 2, unified champion Gonzalez regained control, dropping the spirited Thai fighter in both the 5th and 6th rounds. But in the 7th, the pint-sized sluggers stood toe-to-toe before Sojachiron caught an overzealous Chiquita with a devastating right hand. The challenger's subsequent barrage forced the referee to call it, earning Sojachiron a major upset. Chris Eubank versus Steve Collins 1. Eubank Collins 1. The pre-fight mind games were almost as entertaining as the fight itself, as Collins famously spooked Eubank by convincing him he'd been hypnotized. The fight went ahead despite the bizarre ruse, and both fought their hearts out in a strategic but intense battle of wills. A heavy right hand floored Collins in the 10th round, but the Irishman got up to win the decision in front of a raucous partisan crowd, ending Eubank's reign after 14 title defenses. Yeah, Eubank was on a run. 14 consecutive title defenses. Okay, Nigel Benn versus Gerald McClellan. This was a bad one here. McClellan never fought again. A hair-raising fight won by Benn after McClellan yielded in the 10th round. The Brit was relentless in pursuit of victory, clawing his way back in front of his London supporters after being bludgeoned through the ropes in the opening round. Regrettably, the result turned tragic as McClellan collapsed in his corner post-fight and would suffer permanent brain damage as a result. He's like blind and 80% deaf. Wow. Razor Ruddock versus Tommy Morrison. A brawl was expected, and that's exactly what the fans in Morrison's adopted hometown got. As both comebacking former contenders traded rounds and momentum. By the 6th round, Ruddock had taken control, but as he pursued his wounded quarry, he walked right into the Duke's money punch. And once again, the tonnage of Tommy's left hook had bailed him out of a likely defeat. Yep, Tommy stopped it. Yeah, I think Tommy Morrison just had a lot of potential that he didn't fulfill. Yeah, expected much more of him. Marquis Sosa versus Charlie Williams 1. You want proof of this fight's sheer brutality? It was stopped after the 7th round because the ringside doctor ruled both fighters unfit to continue due to damage sustained. If you have a sadistic streak, then watch this fight, okay? The ringside doctor stopped it because both fighters were unfit to continue. Okay? Wow. Both of them. Man. (1996) Evander Holyfield versus Mike Tyson 1. A fight 5 years in the making. The Holyfield versus Tyson showdown featured two big men trying to take each other out with virtually every swing. Heavy favorite Tyson had dispatched both Bruno and Seldon in vintage fashion earlier that very year, but he met his match as an apparently washed Holyfield dragged him into deep waters before getting the TKO in round 11. And they considered that a huge upset. That led to the bike fight too, because Holyfield was repeatedly headbutting Tyson in this fight, and the referee did nothing about it. And he repeatedly headbutted him in the next fight, and the referee didn't do anything about it. So Mike took matters into his own hands and bit part of his ear off. And the crazy part, he bit Holyfield twice, and he bit part of his ear off on the first bite. How in the world did they continue? Did he know part of his ear was missing? Wow. You would think he bit part of the ear off on the second bite, but no, the first bite. That's crazy. Riddick Bowe versus Andrew Golota 1 and 2. Big Daddy Riddick Bowe versus Andrew Foulpole Golota. First fight sparked a riot. People went to jail and the hospital. Now, Big Daddy was coming off a big win over Evander Holyfield and looking for money-spinning fights against Tyson or Lewis when he ran into a sizable roadblock in the form of a little-known 240-pound Polish bruiser named Andrew Golota. But Golota certainly made a name for himself after he inexplicably sabotaged an almost certain upset win by repeatedly smashing Bo below the belt. The outcome sparking a full-blown riot. Even more bizarre, an immediate rematch saw Golota again lose by disqualification, as he seemingly could not stop himself from targeting Bo's crown jewels. Despite the less than satisfying conclusion, both clashes are riveting, rough, and tumble slugfest. I'm surprised they even let him have a rematch after the riot they had after the first fight, right? It was bad. So everybody was shocked when they let them two fight again, because their entourages, everybody was in the ring battling in the audience everywhere. So it was crazy when they said, Riddick Bowe and Golota actually fighting again? They're going to let them fight again? Nobody thought this was even going to get past the press conferences. But yeah, and again, Golota got disqualified for low blows. But they had heavy security in there the second time, and it didn't get out of control after the low blows this time. Yeah. They had everybody, the police, the CIA, the KGB, the FBI, the BEO, Black Lives Matter, everybody was in there, security. Just kidding. Okay. MAGA, everybody was in there. Prince Naseem Hamed versus, just kidding, Manuel Medina. It's a fallacy that Naseem Hamed destroyed everyone in his path before meeting Marco Antonio Barrera in 2001. 5 years earlier, before he met Barrera, with a 22-year-old Nas slap banging his prime, he was in the middle of his prime. He went life and death with another Mexican, the rugged Manuel Medina. For much of the fight, Medina got the best of Hamed, making him miss and making him pay with sharp counters. The power of the Prince proved pivotal, though, as he stopped his towering foe in round 11. But yeah, Medina was getting the best of him for a minute there. Junior Jones versus Orlando Canizales. Jones versus Canizales. Okay, Azim Shabazz in the building. What's up, Azim? I wasn't even paying attention to the chat. Salute, Azim. How are you today? Epic fights of the 90s. Epic fights of the 1990s today. I think we're in 1996. Okay. The next one is Junior Jones versus Orlando Canizales. Former bantamweight ruler Canizales has seen better days, but mounted an incredible effort against the younger Jones, applying waves of pressure, only to drop a split decision after 12 frenetic rounds at the Madison Square Garden Theater. Side note, Ronnie Ralston's 119-109 card for Canizales has to be one of the worst in history. Here this judge had Canizales winning 119-109, right? And the other two judges had Jones winning. Go figure that one out. Marco Antonio Barrera versus Kennedy McKinney. Super bantamweight title holder Barrera defended his belt in the inaugural broadcast of HBO's Boxing After Dark series against ex-champ McKinney. The older challenger surprised Barrera with his aggression and confidence, forcing a fast pace and even scoring a knockdown. The baby-faced assassin responded with 5 knockdowns of his own, winning by stoppage with a minute left in round 12. Minute left in the final round, Barrera got him out of there. Yup. Lennox Lewis versus Ray Mercer. The incredibly tough yet inconsistent Mercer gave the more talented Lewis all he could handle over 10 hard-fought rounds in Madison Square Garden. The Brit demonstrated his own underrated spirit and grit, and Mercer showed he could compete with the best as Lewis edged a somewhat disputed decision. 1997, Arturo Gatti versus Gabriel Ruelas, one of the Ruelas brothers. Yeah, they were great. Yeah, old school Fairman landed in the wrong place at the wrong time, right in front of Riddick Bowe's entourage. They pulled him over there and beat him unconscious. Then after he left the hospital, he went to jail. He had a bad night. But he had good aim because he landed right on the side of the ring, came out the sky. So what did he get out of, a plane, or how did he get up there? He had to get up in the sky some kind of way. All they know is he came down, you know. But he had to go up. What goes up must come down, but what goes up got to get up there some kind of way, right? So I always wondered that. Who took him up there? Or did the contraption just fly up there by? I don't know. But anyway, he did land in the wrong place, wrong time, though, old school. That's a fact right there. But Arturo Gatti versus Gabriel Ruelas. 5 rounds into his enthralling challenge of Arturo Gatti's junior lightweight belt, Gabriel Ruelas appeared to be taking over the fight. But Gatti wasn't ready to lose. Was he ever? And once again, snatched victory from the jaws of defeat by scoring a memorable one-punch knockout with a monstrous left hook. And Gatti, like I told you, Gatti just had a knack of making anybody brawl. Like I told y'all, he would have Devin Haney brawling. If they were in the same era, Gatti would have Devin Haney in the middle of the ring brawling. I don't know how he did it, but Gatti just was always in brawls. I don't care what type of style he was fighting. He always ended up in a brawl. Yep. Arturo. Great fighter, though. Arturo Gatti. One of my favorites, personally. Yep. Naseem Hamed versus Kevin Kelly. This featherweight version of Foreman versus Lau featured 6 knockdowns, and it was a verbose banger from Sheffield who proved superior, conclusively ending matters in the 4th round, courtesy of a pinpoint straight left hand. In winning his American debut under the bright lights of Madison Square Garden, Hamed emphatically proved he was just as adept with his fists as he was with his words. Yeah, in his first fight in the United States, the press was at the airport waiting for him. Yeah, Hamed was huge. Johnny Tapia versus Danny Romero. It wasn't the all-out war many expected, but Tapia versus Romero was still an entertaining, high-quality battle between confident crosstown rivals. Tapia stayed on his toes and outboxed Romero in the early rounds, but Danny swept most of the middle rounds before Tapia turned on the style and the showboating to pull away in the late rounds. Pernell Whitaker versus Bellows Hurtado. Whitaker versus her. Okay. Okay. Sweet Pea. It's Sweet Pea. And you know, his nickname wasn't originally Sweet Pea. His nickname was Pete. S-P-E-T-E. And they were in Norfolk. and the crowd was saying Sweet Pete. And some writer thought they were saying Sweet Pea. And he wrote in the paper, Sweet Pea, and it stuck. But it was actually saying Pete, P-E-T-E. But the writers started calling it Sweet Pea, and it stuck. P-E-A, yep. Whitaker versus Hurtado. Whitaker was a 10-1 favorite against amateur standout Hurtado, but he got more than he bargained for in his 8th title defense as the Cuban dropped him on the seat of his pants before repeating the feat in the 6th round. An unusually aggressive Whitaker struggled to overcome height and reach deficits in this wild rumble, but rallied to stop Hurtado with a series of sledgehammer lefts in round 11. Sound of a great fighter. You know, Whitaker came on and got aggressive and got the stoppage when he had to. Sweet Pete. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. One moment. Okay, almost there. I'm gonna have to use initials this time. Damn. That's Nate. Old School says at 2:33 Central Time in a little bit, my video premiere drops. So after the show, check it out. D1 said the other one drops tomorrow. Okay, Old School. Well, I missed a lot of stuff. Man. Okay, Old School. So yeah, that's the next one. Y'all tell me. ST verse. I'm just going to skip right on past that. I don't know what the hell their names is. Okay? I don't know. No idea. Ike Ibebuki versus David Tua. Ike Ibebuki was a talented yet unstable heavyweight, facing his first serious test against David Tua. It was pedal to floor action from the start, with the pair setting a compromise record for punches thrown in a heavyweight fight. The president started strong and was able to survive a late charge by Tua to get the win, involving himself in a title contention. Outside troubles would derail his career shortly after, though, while Tua remained a force for years to come. Tua never won a title, though, but Ibebuki was 20-0. He went to prison. Sexual assault or something like that. 1998. One more year to go after this one. Yes, we're going to get it in. Chris Eubank versus Carl Thompson. 1. The Cat. Remember to call the Cat Thompson. This man had the most comebacks in history. A gala performance by Eubank saw him jump up 2 weight classes in a bid for Thompson's cruiserweight strap. Eubank overcame both a massive size disadvantage and swollen shut left eye to go the distance, even hurting the bigger Cat on multiple occasions. Thompson earned a close decision, but he needed every ounce of his fighting spirit to do so. Yvonne Robinson versus Arturo Gatti. Here's Gatti again. Yvonne Robinson versus Arturo Gatti. 1 and 2. 20 rounds of blistering action saw Robinson rightfully earn 2 decision victories. Both fights were fought at a manic pace and featured endless torrents of power punches, with each pushed to the limit of human endurance. It was Robinson's superior footwork, speed, and combination punching that carried the day, although he had to withstand plenty of Gatti thunder to do so. Lennox Lewis versus Shannon Biggs. Lewis versus Biggs. The brash New Yorker talked a big game and even held a claim to be lineal heavyweight champion. Well, Lewis came out confident on the back of a ruthless demolition of Andrew Golota. And Lennox was wobbled in the first round before blasting Briggs to the canvas twice in a 4th round shootout. Then Lewis laid Briggs out with a huge right in the 5th round. Incredibly, Briggs dragged himself to his feet, but the battle was mercifully stopped soon after. Okay, and finally, 1999. Final year, 1999. Okay, we might get to talk a little bit about Cuba. Oscar De La Hoya versus Ike Quartey. Covered this one yesterday too. Now the Golden Boy was facing his toughest challenge since his somewhat controversial squeaker over Pernell Whitaker, while Quartey hadn't fought in 16 months. But the two welterweights put on a tremendous show, fighting a closely contested battle with momentum changes, knockdowns, and an incredible 12th round that helped Oscar edge out another narrow escape on the scorecards. Yeah, that was a good one. Oscar and Ike Quartey. We're in the 1990s now. Johnny Tapia versus Paulie Ayala. Epic fights of the 90s. Today. Epic fights of the 90s. Johnny Tapia versus Paulie Ayala. Now, starting with a pre-fight push initiated by the pugnacious Tapia, this fight was intense stuff all the way. Both fighters took turns strafing one another with hellacious haymakers. And after 12 rounds of breathtaking action, it was Ayala who earned the nod. Though the pride of Albuquerque suffered his first loss, his performance merits nothing but applause. This is the last one. Erik Morales versus Wayne McCullough. Now, Morales was one of the sport's premier punchers. McCullough, a world-class whirlwind with an insane chin. Together they waged war for 12 rounds, throwing over 900 blows apiece. Not combined, apiece. Okay, over 1,800 together. The scorecards were wide, and the elite Mexican never truly was in danger of losing. But the irrepressible Irishman certainly put him through the ringer. Human beings are not meant to do this to each other, said Larry Merchant during a furious final round. But they do. Larry Merchant has some good sentences. He said, human beings are not meant to do this to each other, but they do. That's some honorable mentions. Okay, real quick, for the 90s. Nelson versus Realis 1. Gaddy versus Rodriguez, Norris versus Waters, Gonzalez versus Kelly, Andres versus Harding 2 and 3, Vargas versus Wright, McClellan versus Jackson 1, Tyson versus Ruddock 2, Morrison versus Hip, Eubank versus Watson 1, Douglas versus Tyson, can't believe that wasn't on here, Eubank versus Ben 2, Dorsey versus Kelly, Collins versus Eubank 2, Kawasaki versus Eubank, Kawasaki versus Reed, Tony versus Sosa, Tony versus Nunn, Trinidad versus Whitaker, Mora versus Stewart. Okay, now we talk about countries after the shows now, so let's Cuba today. Okay, we're gonna talk a little about boxing in Cuba. Okay, today. But first, excuse me for 1 second, please. 1 second. 1 minute. Let's get this going. But how's everybody this afternoon? Everybody good? Okay, let me see if I can get this. Here, go ahead. Boxing in Cuba. There we go. Okay, here we go. I'm back. Boxing in Cuba. Like I said, after each show at the end, we're going to go over some boxing in different countries. Today, Cuba. Boxing in Cuba now to finish things off. Okay. There's some Cubans outside boxing in the streets. They're getting some good likes the last couple of days, too. Wow, appreciate it. One that I've been getting in a while. Okay. Now, boxing is a popular sport in Cuba. As of 1992, there were over 16,000 boxers on the island. Across Cuba today, there are 494 boxing coaches and 185 facilities. Of the 99,000 athletes in Cuba currently, 19,000 are boxers, including 81 of Olympic competence, even though only 12 make the Olympic team. Professional boxing was banned from 1962 until April 1922. Now, the history of Cuban boxing, okay? History of Cuban boxing. Okay, history of Cuban boxing. Boxing originally arrived in Cuba as a tourist attraction, mainly as championship fights between North American boxers during the high tourist season. In 1909, Havana had its first pro fight. In 1910, a Chilean named John Budenich established the first boxing academy in Havana. 2 years later, government banned boxing due to the violence on the streets between blacks and whites. Now, fights had to go behind closed doors as they grew popular throughout the island. Despite the banishment of the sport at the time, for the lower classes, boxing constituted a possible ticket out of poverty, as well as steady and reliable entertainment. Okay? So it had to go behind closed doors. You banned it. It was very popular. You know, the Cuban people that boxed said, we're not going to stop. Okay? So the government should have just left it legal and tried to capitalize on it, make some money off of it, which they eventually did. And then they just started letting them go pro again. Oh, I was trying to go to the top. It's at the top. In 2022, believe that? Mm-hmm. Okay. A very famous and controversial fight took place in Cuba on April 5th, 1915, when Jack Johnson, the world heavyweight champion, defended his title against Jess Willard. Willard won the title by a 26-round knockout. The fight between the two Americans was a controversial one because it has been rumored several times that Johnson let Willard win the contest. Yeah, because they were outside, right? And Johnson was supposedly knocked out cold, but people noticed he was on the mat shading his eyes. So how you knocked out cold? You're on the mat shading your eyes from the sun, right? What's up, Thomas Hill? How are you today? Yeah. Supposed to been knocked out cold, but they saw him on the mat shading his eyes. Right? Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what he was doing. Laying on the mat, shading his eyes. Supposedly knocked out cold. Okay. Let's continue. Boxing in Cuba. We're going to talk about some boxing in different countries at the end of the shows again. Okay. So, recognizing boxing's potential to take families out of poverty and to entertain crowds, on December 13th, 1921, Cuba decided to give boxing another chance and legitimize boxing with the establishment of the National Commission on Boxing and Wrestling. Now, the lift on the ban brought tourist dollars with the fights. That's what I was saying. You might as well legalize and try to make some money because people are doing it anyway. They're just doing it underground now. Years later, a National Boxing Academy was established to train talented athletes. The next decade, Golden Gloves amateur competitions had also arrived in Cuba. By 1959, Cuba had 6 professional world champions who were considered to be the founding fathers of boxing, as well as national heroes of Cuba. These fighters included Geraldo Kid Gavilan Gonzalez, Benny Parrott, and Eligio Kid Chocolate. That's Kid Chocolate right there. In spite of the sport's promise of prosperity, the Cuban boxers who earned a lot of money in the ring almost commonly died impecuniously, right? Some boxers also had ties with the mafia and other sources of corruption. Yeah, Jack Dempsey fought down there too. Cuba's boxing reputation also drew foreign boxers as well, such as Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey, Jess Willard, Joe Louis, Joe Brown, and Sugar Ray Robinson. That's Jack Dempsey there. Although Cuba had traditionally done well in professional boxing, it did not win an Olympic medal in boxing until after 1959, due to considerable resources being devoted to the development of athletes as a result of the Cuban Revolution. Yeah, they started putting money into them after 1959. That's when they started winning their medals. Okay. In 1960, The pro boxer Benny Parrott won the world welterweight title. That's Benny Parrott on the screen. Ahead of the strong contingent of pro-Cuban boxers who followed up their fifth place at the 1954 Games. 2 medals were for first place, a position they have held in all subsequent Central American Games and the Pan American Games, where competition was stronger. Cuban boxers also performed well, particularly from late 1960s onward. The high international standard of Cuba's boxers was evident in the Olympic arena. In 1961, along with other sports, the revolutionary government banned pro boxing again. However, thanks to a huge government financial investment, Cuba has built a reputation in Olympic boxing. At the 1968 Summer Olympics, Cuba won 2 silver medals. At the 1980 Moscow Olympics, Cuban boxers swept the field, winning 10 medals, 6 of them gold. The United States wasn't at that one. At the 1992 Summer Olympics in Barcelona, the Cubans outdid themselves with 7 gold and 2 silver medals. That's Sugar Ray Robinson, and I think I'm a little off on my pictures here. Here we go. Now I'm back on. Yeah, there we go. By the 1980s, Cuban boxers were dominant in all major international amateur competitions, including the Olympics. Throughout its Olympic history, Cuba won 37 gold medals, 73 overall in boxing, second place in the all-time medal table, only to the United States. And Cuba is the only country that has 2 3-time Olympic champions, Teofilo Stevenson and Felix Savon. And the ban on pro boxing was lifted in April of 2022, okay? So Cuban amateur boxing now. Let's look at some Cuban amateur boxing. Foreign influence contributed to the development of Cuban amateur boxing before the Cuban Revolution in 1959. Cuba's achievements in amateur boxing were diminutive. Components of their boxing style were derived from American professional boxing. After the Revolution, Eastern European methodology replaced the American influences. Andrei Chervayenko of the Soviet Union has trained Teofilo Stevenson, and his compatriot Vasily Romanov has trained boxers as well in Cuba. Yeah, they dropped the American style and picked up the European influence. Now, the Cuban government used sport as a means of exhibiting the success of the new socialist government. And winning medals in international competitions became a high-profile means of promoting the ideals of New Cuba. The Soviet Union sent experienced boxing coach Andrei Chervayenko to help develop Cuban fighters in order to assist its socialist brethren in their goals. Now, along with Cuba's own Alcides Segarra, Chervayenko helped develop a comprehensive national recruiting and training program based on the Soviet model. Alcides Segarra became Cuba's boxing head coach in 1960, and then later passed on his position to Sorbello Fuentes in 2001. The Cuban boxing system along with other sports programs, start in grammar schools. Sports are considered a high priority in the Cuban education system, and it's there a potential athlete can be recognized. From the age of 12, talented youth are sent to specialized schools where they can focus on enhancing their skills. From there, the young boxers train throughout a very competitive youth program. The ones that graduate from the program are sent to the top school in Wajay, where they train advanced drills and exercises. The support that the state gives is crucial to the advancement of the highly technical boxing program. Boxer Teofilo Stevenson, who had won 3 Olympic gold medals in 1972, 1976, and 1980, has made many contributions to Cuba and Cuban boxing. He is equally known for his sportsmanship, receiving the UNESCO Pierre de Coubertin Fair Play Prize in 1989. After retiring from boxing in 1986, he served both in the Cuban Parliament and as a vice president of the Cuban Boxing Federation. After a career of fighting for their country, most Cubans continue to stay in the sport, many as administrators or trainers. Through this way, the knowledge and experience is passed down to the next generation of athletes. Boxing in Cuba. Okay? Tomorrow, we're going to talk about '90s again. This time, we're just going to look straight at some of the fighters, their career achievements, backgrounds, like a little brief profile on some of those great fighters from the '90s. Lights Out Tony, B-Hop, Oscar, all of those guys, okay? The rise of women's boxing was coming along then, right? I was trying to put the link in there real quick. We got a couple minutes left. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. All right. Okay. We can get a little link time if anyone is interested. Okay. And Thursday, we're going to actually look at the history of the Golden Gloves. We never looked at the Golden Gloves before. I can't believe it, all this time. 600 and some shows. But we are Thursday. And then Friday, this is the first Friday of the month. So the profile this week is going to be an active fighter. It's going to be Jaron Boots Ennis this week. Okay? Jaron Boots Ennis. Going to be our profile. Friday. Yeah, I wanted to we're going to, at the end of shows, we're going to talk about countries. The next one is going to be Puerto Rico. Next show, we have time at the end to do a little profile on a country in boxing. Going to be Puerto Rico. We're going to do Eastern Europe, all that, Great Britain, all of them. Japan, China. Just little brief things at the end of shows. Nothing too deep. Okay. Let's see. Where's the cursor? There it is. We got Old School. What's up, Old School?
What's happening? How you been, Cam?
Not a whole lot. I've been chilling. Talking.
I hear that. I'm
say
still
it again?
home with my gut, man. I'm about to go to urgent care in a little while. I think I got appendix issues.
Man. It's like
Yeah.
one real bad pain. You haven't worked in the last couple of days, right? Yeah, because you was in here yesterday.
That last couple of days, my gut's been all screwed up.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: what you think next for Keith for one time, old school? After
Well, that's
starting?
what my video. That's what my video is about, dude.
Oh, it is okay. So it's
Um,
up now, right? It's ready now.
yeah, it posted at 2:33.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out as soon as I get off of here.
Yeah, I got tired of these dudes always throwing fighters away, bruh.
Yeah.
And they do it constantly. Somebody takes a loss, and then all these content creators get on their little freaking shows and start bashing dudes and throwing them away. And part in the video, I said, you know, it isn't like Thurman went through car wrecks like Errol did and all that shit where there's a chance of brain injury and shit like Errol went through.
Yeah.
I mean, Keith has had a career of not a lot of damage,
No.
you know?
Mm-mm.
Keith's problem is sitting on the damn sidelines and
Too
not
long.
fighting.
That's what it is, old school. Yep. Inactivity.
Keith, to me, in the ring, and I told everybody, go back and watch, before the fight, I said, go back and watch him when he fought Barrios.
Mm-hmm.
Barrios is not great. He's good, but he's not great. And Keith
Yeah.
looked really average in that fight.
Yeah, you did.
If
And I think-
Barrios would have known he had Keith hurt like he had him hurt, he could have finished Keith in that fight.
He might have.
Because Keith even said it after the fight. He was hurt badly to the body, and then
Mhm.
Barrios could have finished him.
Yeah, he was clearly hurt bad.
And that told me, you get in the ring with somebody like Fundora, who's a lot better than Barrios. He's got all that reach. The dude he's a walking cheat code.
And getting good at his advantages and stuff too, old school, you know, he done got a lot better.
Well, yeah, he had
No.
LASIK surgery. He fought
Yeah.
up close at first because he couldn't see you.
Couldn't see, that's right.
Now he's had the LASIK surgery. Now they're teaching this kid to box at a distance, and oh my
Mhm.
God, he is the ultimate cheat code.
I say they better get in there with him now. Because like 2, 3, 4 more fights, man.
Yeah, he's getting better every fight now, dude.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I knew when Keith got in there with him, and
Yeah.
Keith showed me exactly what I thought. He did not know what to do with him.
Nah, I knew that.
He had no clue. And part of it is because he's been sitting out of the ring so long.
But he had like 2 fights in like 4 years or something like that.
Yeah, dude, that's you don't go into an opponent like Fundora with no, dude, that's a no.
You ain't beating no top level fighter doing that. Mm-mm.
D1 was like, man, Keith sounded confident and blah 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 blah. And he was telling me this before the fight. I told D1, I said,
No.
bro, that don't make a damn, dude.
Mm-mm.
It really doesn't. I don't care how confident he is. He's gonna get in there and he's gonna find out.
In the ring.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I had picked a dominant decision, but a few weeks ago I was saying it was going to end bad for him, you know.
Yeah, dude. And look, to me, Boots is the guy that's going to be able to beat him. Other than that, maybe, Virgil. If Virgil can get under that jab.
Yeah.
I know
That'd
Boots can, because Boots knows how to. Boots is very crafty. He can get underneath that jab and he can get to him.
Yeah, Boots will stop him too. Mm-hmm.
Now, the people that have had luck, against Barrios, Mendoza, and what's his name, Lubin. Both of them got underneath the jab. Both of them got up close and personal and put some damage on him.
Against Fundora, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to fight this dude. You got to get close to him and you got to beat him up.
Mm-hmm. And you got to stay in there tight.
Yeah, you cannot let him box you at a distance. He's going to pick you apart all night and you're going to pay for it.
All night.
Night.
You know that Mendoza fight, he hadn't had that surgery yet. That might not have been ended like that if he would have had that surgery.
No, he did have the surgery, but he was just learning.
Yeah.
In
he
fact, he
wasn't
had the
as good.
surgery right before the Lubin fight.
Yeah, he wasn't as good with his advantages and stuff then, though.
Right.
You know?
He was
Yeah.
just learning.
Just learning. Yeah. That's what I'm
And
trying to
now
say.
he's put it all together.
Mhm.
That makes
Yeah.
this dude extremely dangerous.
I like to see him in boots. What you think about him in boots?
It's going to be a fight, dude.
Yeah.
It's going to be a real fight. It's going to be a chess match.
Mhm. Especially if Fundora get like 2 or 3 more fights in before that and get just that much better, man. Wow.
Now, another one, if he gets back in the ring, if he has a few tune-up fights, Mel could fight him.
Yeah.
But Mel's got to get
Yeah.
back in the ring, and he's got to get some tune-ups before
He
he
gotta
even
get some
thinks
tune-ups.
about getting in there with
That's
him.
mandatory. He can't jump right back in there with somebody like Fundora, like Keith
No,
did.
hell no. Hell no. As much as I like Mel, and as good as Mel was
Mhm.
before the Canelo fight, no. You got to get in the ring. You got to get your feet wet. You got to be grounded when you fight this dude.
Because that inactivity matters, man. I don't know why these guys
Absolutely, it
believe in
matters.
tune-ups and that nonsense, man.
Yeah, that
No.
Errol Spence philosophy goes right out the
Yeah.
window when you fight
Yeah.
somebody like Fundora.
Mm-hmm. Earl would get destroyed, jump right in against Fundora.
Oh
with
God,
fucking
yeah,
tune-ups
dude.
and stuff,
It would be worse than the Keith fight. Because Errol's gonna try and just bulldoze his way in, and that ain't gonna work.
That's not gonna work. The way Earl fight, nah. He's gonna be a
No,
sitting duck.
you got to be crafty. You got to be slick. You got to be able to slap his fucking jab down and get underneath it. You've got to do a lot of things.
Yeah, Earl gonna get in there and try to come forward behind that jab, and it's not gonna be good, man.
No, it's not gonna be good. He's gonna get his head knocked off.
Yeah, maybe early.
Yeah,
But him
he's
and
gonna
Zoo
get battered,
coming up,
banged up, and he's gonna be out of there.
Ain't Earl and Tim Zoo coming up? Is that fight? That fight.
That's
is
who
over?
we're hearing. But
not
I'm kind of
official.
weary about Errol getting back in the ring, dude. I
If
told
anybody.
you why before a long time ago.
I would have rather fight somebody lower level first. But Earl don't believe in tune-ups, you know.
Yeah, and that's going to be his damn mistake too. Because if he
Not
gets
good.
well, here's the thing with Zoo. Zoo's chin's now questionable.
Yeah. After what
So
he been- yeah.
Errol could get him out of there. The thing is, though, how many punches can he take off of Zoo? Because Zoo's punching.
Yeah.
How many
They both-
punches can he take before he can get Zoo out of there? Zoo could get him out of there before he ever gets to Zoo.
Yeah. Both of them got big question marks on.
They do. So that fight makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That's not too bad of a fight when you think about it for him. Yeah.
Yeah, only because, like I said, Zoo's got a questionable chin. That's why it
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah. That's true.
Other than that, though, if Zoo was Zoo before he got knocked the hell out and beat up, no, dude, Zoo would destroy Errol.
I know. Around the time when he fought Harrison, that Zoo.
Yeah, that
I
Zoo would
probably would have picked Zoo at that time.
he'd get Errol out of there quick, dude. It wouldn't even be but maybe 3-4 rounds, if that.
Yeah. He lost some confidence.
People act like I don't like Errol, man. Errol is one of my favorite fighters, but bro,
You just stating the fact, looking at it realistically.
yeah.
You know?
I heard all of the crap that's going on in the fucking training camps, bro.
Mm-hmm. Who is training him now anyway? Earl. You know?
Oh God, I never remember the dude's name. The same
I
guy
heard
that's
the guy.
training Maul,
Oh, Ronnie Shields.
Ronnie Shields.
You know the guy that was working with Earl sometimes when it was with Derek? I think he said he was working with him too. I can't think. He got like a nickname. Damn, I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I'm no good at names, so don't even ask me.
He's working with him some now too. So that's kind of good.
Dude, I can't never remember Ronnie Shields' name, and I know the man's name by heart.
Yeah. So that's a good trainer for him though. Ronnie
Yeah.
Shields. been around.
Ronnie Shields is going to take him back to the basics and try and get him
Yeah.
right. The problem is, if you look at what's been happening, Errol went to Breadman. He's went
Breadman
to
was the one I was thinking about, old school. Breadman, yeah.
he's went to a couple of trainers, and he
Yeah.
even went to Roy Jones, and none of them
Sure did.
None of them tried with him because they saw what happens with him.
Yeah. I heard about Breadman. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking about. Yeah.
They know he can't take a punch anymore.
They saw something. Yeah.
because he wasn't there but maybe a couple of weeks, and he was gone from there.
He was
Each
gone.
and every trainer he's been to see.
Yeah. They don't want to chance it, you know.
No,
probably
dude, they don't want to see him get hurt.
They don't belong back in there. You know? There's got to be something.
It's like I had heard, one of the arguments I had heard, and people said I was crazy, was that one of the arguments with Derek James was Derek James knew the condition he was in going into the Bud fight. And Derek James told him, bro, I'm really worried about you getting in there. And Errol didn't want to hear that shit. And then they got in a big old argument about it. And next thing you know, they broke up after the fight.
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought they had a good relationship, you know?
Yeah, well, evidently Errol didn't want to hear the truth.
Right. He want a yes man. That's not good for you.
No. Sometimes you got to save fighters from themselves, dude.
Yeah. And Ronnie Shields will do that.
Yeah.
So he with the right one. Ronnie Shields, yeah.
Now, hopefully, maybe, I don't know, all of this time off, hopefully he hasn't been getting beat up on. Maybe he gets some of his faculties back. But if you listen to the way Errol talks, his speech is long and drawn out like a fighter that's been beat up on badly.
And it wasn't the best before the Bud fight.
No,
you know?
it wasn't. And it's
Kinda
even
slow
much
in
worse
with him.
now.
Yeah.
It is
And
much
it's been
worse now when you
2023,
listen to
man.
him talk.
And this is 2026. The Bud fight was 2023.
Right.
You know?
And people try to say, oh, that's that Southern draw. No, dude,
No.
that's that fucking boxer draw. That's
Yeah,
what
that
it
ain't
is.
no Southern draw. And it's only going to get worse the more you keep getting in there and taking punishment.
Yeah. And he's got kids, bro. That shit worries me.
And he got plenty of money. I think he just loved the sport like that, you know?
Well, bro, you know how it is with these fighters. It's hard to say goodbye.
Yeah. Especially when your last loss was the one he took from Bud, you know? You don't want to go out on that note.
And I get it, dude. You don't want to go out on that note. But
Yeah.
sometimes, bro, you know, things are for the best that you do.
Yeah. And then when you look at his whole career, people will remember the other part of it in the long run, you know? He had a great career. It's the only loss. That ain't too bad, you know? He beat some big names, too. He had 3 championships. So
But he hears the garbage being said about him, like Bud coming out and saying, oh, Errol wasn't my hardest fight. Of course he wasn't your hardest fight because you fought a broke up Errol and you knew that going into the fight.
Yeah, you got to look at when he fought him.
Well, bro, that's why, you know, I'm very questionable about Bud's resume because Bud waited till all these dudes were on their way out the door before he fought him. He didn't fight them when they were out in their prime and beating people up. Sean Porter. He fights Sean Porter when Sean Porter's got 1 foot out the door.
Last fight.
Yeah. And then his dad even says, oh, man, he barely trained for the fight.
And look at Earl. He fought Earl. Earl fought in 3 years. He kind of was on the way out the door, too, you know?
Yeah. And you look at, what's his name, the English dude?
Kell Brook.
Man, Kell Brook. Kell Brook had broken eye sockets.
Yeah.
He got beat the hell up by Triple G. And he was half of himself by the time he fought Bud. But people ought to act like he beat the best of the best. No, he beat them when they were already.
You know, it's the only fight
he beat them when they were already going downhill.
So yeah, you got a point there, old school.
Even when he fought Canelo, dude, tell me Canelo's looked like Canelo in the last fucking 3-4 years. Think about that.
No.
He didn't fight a prime Canelo. He fought a Canelo with no legs. You know?
That wasn't the Canelo from the first Triple G fight or Floyd or around in there when he was fighting all them guys. You know, when he was
not even close.
No, that wasn't that Canelo, no. Not even close. But people don't understand. When a lot of people look at resumes, they just look at the names. You gotta look at the dates and all that, when they fought and all that stuff too, as part of the resume, man. That's why it's on there. You can't just look at the names, you know, when they fought them and what kind of fights these fighters had been in, and all that kind of stuff goes into the resume, man. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that. Yeah, it's a lot
It's like,
to a resume. And yeah, Buds.
a lot of these fighters today, Cass, their resumes suck. One of my other videos that I put out
Yeah,
was about Devin Haney and the worst undisputed run ever. I mean, in the history of boxing. Who did he beat?
Yeah.
He beat Kambosos.
George Kambosos.
Somebody who should have never had a belt in the beginning. And the only reason Kambosos had the belts is because Tio didn't train.
And if it hadn't been for Tio, you would have to be a hardcore fan to even heard of Kambosos. You know?
Right. Nobody knew who Kambosos was. Right. Kambosos got lucky because Tio did not train for him. He thought he was an easy fight and did not train.
Nope.
So then Devin
gave us George Kambosos.
And then finally Devin actually takes a chance and fights Loma. Here's the thing about that. He fought an old. Let's face it, Loma's old.
And Loma beat him. And that version of Loma beat him. You know?
Dude, I had that fight scored 7-5 for Loma.
That's exactly how I had it too. And that was
a lot of people had it that way.
That was old Loma. You know?
It was.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll bet any money on it. That's the reason why we didn't get the Tank fight. If Devin would have went in there and blistered Loma and beat Loma's ass easily, we would have got the Tank fight.
We would have got the fight. Yeah, that's true.
Because Bill had said they were going to stay in the division for the rest of the year and fight Tank and fight Shakur. And then right after he lost to Loma, he jumped ship and ran to 140.
He knew.
Yeah, he knew.
He had too much trouble in that fight. Did you see his expression before they announced the decision? That was
he thought he was waiting for the loss to come up.
That was the body language of somebody that lost, man. Him and Bill.
You're damn right it was.
And then they was just so happy when they announced him as the winner.
Oh, dude, they were ecstatic.
It was like a sign of relief. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Heaton came to the corner and took one round and told Bill, he got me figured out, Dad. Remember?
Yeah.
So, come on, man. Yeah.
And I still think if Loma would have freaking put the pedal to the metal in the last round, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
He did the same thing he did against Tio. He didn't finish. Yeah,
right.
I don't know why he does that, man. I don't know why he does that. But yeah, if he would have finished that 12th round against Devin, he would have had that fight.
Yeah. If he would have, just like you said, if he'd have finished the last round against Tio, he would have had that fight too.
Yeah. After not doing nothing the first 6 rounds, then he came back and dominated.
Yep.
And dominated Tio. Yeah, but then he just took his foot off the gas at the end.
But even Loma knew after fighting Devin, Loma knew he better not fight Tank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Loma figured it out. If he had that many problems fighting Devin, what would happen if he got in the ring with Tank Davis, who was a killer?
Tank would have stopped him.
Yeah, he would have. Absolutely would have stopped him.
Yeah. They knew it.
Yep. I always said the way Loma leaps in, Tank would have left hooked him or uppercutted him right to the canvas with that leaping in. Because Tank is a master at timing.
He would have stopped Devin.
Oh,
yeah, I think he would have stopped Devin. Yeah.
He'd have done what Ryan did. Seriously. Except Tank would have knocked him out.
Yeah, he wouldn't have kept getting up.
Yeah, he wouldn't knock him, kept getting up.
No.
If Ryan would have been in shape for that fight, Devin wouldn't have made it out of the third round. But no, Ryan came in there all fat, untrained, was not ready at all, and had no cardio whatsoever.
He wasn't into it mentally or nothing.
Nothing.
And still won though.
I don't give a crap how they rigged it to get the damn loss off their record. He lost that fight.
Yeah, he lost it. What of that Austerine? That had nothing to do with that, man.
Nope.
Mm-mm. Nothing.
Looks like me and D1 had put out a whole freaking damn live about showing this guy talking about the effects of Ostarine and
Yeah.
what it takes for it to work. And dude, you gotta have at least a month to a month and a half of having that crap heavily in your system for it to
Mhm.
even show any kind of advantage.
Yeah.
He had the smallest amount possible, which wouldn't have even helped a flea get an advantage.
And that was just part of his craziness going into that fight. I think just for him using that, you know.
Well,
It's like he came in overweight
dude,
on
there's a
purpose.
lot of things that really smelled rotten in that shit. Like Devin's little brother having a goddamn epiphany. Oh, Ryan's gonna test 30. How do you know that, kid?
Yeah,
How did you know that? Because
That's
you
a good-
heard somebody talking about it. That's what.
that's all. That's a good question. Yeah.
I still say that was, look, you got Zab Judah, who is Devin's freaking godfather.
Mhm.
Who's the guy that sends fucking this guy, Scooter, over to Ryan to help him with the weight? Zab Judah is the guy that sent the dude over.
Mhm.
Those are the supplements, the ones that came from that dude Scooter that were fucking dirty.
Mm.
Now you're gonna sit, and then you got the little brother saying that. And you're gonna tell me there's not something suspicious
Yeah.
about that whole shit,
Yeah. How would he know?
right?
Yeah.
I think it was an insurance policy in case Devin lost.
Mm.
I truly believe that.
I just hope they fight again at 147.
It's not gonna happen, Cass.
You don't think
I
so?
don't. I don't think. When you watch the way Devin fights now, he's got PTSD or some kind of shit, dude. Because that dude fights scared as fuck.
Yeah.
It was bad in the Ramirez fight, but when he got in there, here's a perfect. He gets in there with Brian Norman. He actually clips Brian Norman and puts him down.
Mhm. Yeah.
You would think that he would try to finish him through the rest, and instead, the rest of the fight, he damn near hugged him to death,
Yeah. And Norman was
trying to
just
keep from getting
inexperienced.
hit. That was fear.
Yeah, Norman, he wasn't ready. He was just too inexperienced. But Devin just had too much experience.
Right.
You
And
Norman gets-
Devin did what he had to do to keep from getting hit, but
Yeah.
that was fear, Cass.
Yeah, he
The
dropped.
look in his eyes every time Norman started swinging at him, dude, you could see it in his eyes. He was deadly afraid of getting hit. No,
You think he'll get in there with Rolly? Rolly punching too now, you know.
Cass, I said when they started announcing this shit, I said, I told D1, I said he's gonna find a reason to get out this fight.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Because Rolly catching was, I think Rolly punched harder than Ryan. If
He does.
catch-
A lot harder than
Mhm.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Which is why I didn't think the fight was gonna happen.
So, because if Rolly clipped him, he's not going to keep getting up from Rolly shots neither.
Oh hell no. Rolly
Mhm.
clip him, it's over with.
Yeah. And Rolly always.
And Devin
swings.
knows it.
Yeah. And Rolly got
No,
a little bit better since he changed trainers too. He ain't
Huh?
no top level boxer, but he done got a little bit better with his boxing since he changed trainers too.
Oh
you know?
yeah, dude. Rolly was impatient. He just swung like he lost his mind before this new trainer. Now Rolly's patient. He's
Mhm.
putting his shit together. He's actually looking like a fighter
Yeah.
now.
Setting up shots and stuff, you know.
Right. And
Yeah.
the longer
He was just
Rolly
swinging
has
for
to
the fences
train,
every time
the mo-
before.
the longer Rolly has to train, the more he's learning and the better he's going to get. So, does Devin want to get in there with another hard, much harder puncher? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to fight any hard punches in the future.
But Devin, he's gonna have to get in there with somebody at 147. He better not get in there with nobody like Stanionis neither, or even Curran. They'll stop
Right.
him.
Right. And
I
here's
think-
another problem. Who is
And
going
then
to
them
pay
guys.
him? Think about who is going to pay Devin to come out there and look like he has in the last couple of fights, especially
Good
the
question.
money he wants.
Good question.
Ain't nobody going to want to pay that huge amount of money to have him
Yeah.
come out and literally run around the ring and do everything possible to keep from getting hit. They want to see a fight.
Yeah.
They don't want to see him run. They don't want to see him hugging all night.
Yeah, they don't mind a little boxing, but he actually runs, man. He avoids contact.
His only chance of getting the money he wanted was Turkey. Now Turkey, they got a war going on. Turkey's already been told, look, you're limited on what you can spend now. So you think Turkey's going to dump a bunch of money on Devin for a fight? No. If Turkey dumps any money, it's going to be on somebody that's a draw.
Yeah. And you know, they ain't having no fights over there no time soon.
No, they're not.
You know, we are at seasons. Nope.
No. And these other promoters are not going to pay him the money he's asking. Al tried to give him a deal with Rolly. Look, man, you know, we'll give you so much down, and you can work off the back end with the money.
Yeah.
What did he do? He turns the fight down.
Yeah, he didn't.
So
really
he has
want
no
it.
confidence. Him and Bill know they don't sell. So they have no confidence on him selling, which is why they're not going to take that deal.
And then certain fighters he ain't getting there with. He don't want to get in there with no way.
Right.
You know he's gonna get
So,
knocked down.
what the hell is Devin going to do in the future is the biggest question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't see who is going to fight at 147.
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
He might beat Barrios.
Man, it could be Barrios. Barrios is taking too much damage. I mean, it kind of shows lately, dude. His last couple of fights, he's looked slow, lethargic. His punch reaction
Barrios.
is slowed.
He been in some tough fights.
Yeah,
Tank Thurman beat him up.
right.
And then that Manny fight, but that was disgraceful, man.
That was absolutely disgraceful.
He was just like, come on off the ropes, Manny. Come on back out to the middle.
Devin
Like,
probably had his eyes set on Barrios until Ryan clipped him. And then after that, now Ryan's got the belt.
yeah.
Now Devin ain't even trying to go get that belt.
Yeah, and they each got one, right? That'd be a unification
Damn.
fight. And the
But
rematch,
that PTSD is a hell of a thing, dude.
that might be a pretty good payday for him. Him and Ryan rematch. Just
Yeah.
unification, but he don't want that one, you know?
No, because you know what happens? If he loses the fight, that proves that the Austrian had nothing to do with it. He can't live with that.
Yep. Yeah, as long as he's
You know?
able to use the excuse. Yeah, that's a good point. That excuse will go out the window if he
It
messes around and
absolutely
loses.
does.
Yeah. So they stand away from that. I don't
Yeah,
see
they
who
can
he.
stay away from it.
I don't see who he fights. At one
I don't either. He
Don't
is
go to
stuck
one.
in a hell of a position.
It's nothing for him at 154. I don't know who he.
Oh,
would be.
dude, he don't want to go to
He can get his
154. He will get his clock cleaned by everybody at 54. There's just too many killers at 54.
Ooh. Man, they'll stay squeezed down to 147 as long as they can.
Fuck,
You
if he's smart, he'll try and squeeze back down to 140.
Yeah, I don't think he can do it.
I don't think
He
so
should have
either.
been at 147. As early as the Regis fight, he should have been at 147. Because he fought Regis like 165 by fight night, remember?
Right. No, it actually showed a little. Him clipping Brian Norman shows that, and I still think this, that fucking all that weight loss has been sucking him dry as far as power goes.
I knew that once he started going up, his power would be better. You know?
I've always wondered how he would look going up in weight, and that fight against Brian Norman shows that he has a tiny bit of power, but it's only because he's actually put the weight back on.
But he didn't follow up. Like you say, he didn't follow up on it.
He was scared. He was literally watch right after the clip. He starts swinging like Wilder on Brian Norman, not landing anything. And then right after he couldn't hurt him, after that, he starts shelling up and hugging.
Yeah. He had Norman hurt, but he was still too worried about what was going to come back at him at the same time.
He was too worried about getting clipped in the meantime.
Yeah, because Norman is punching too, you know?
Absolutely, and he knows it.
Yeah.
Bad situation all the way around.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see who he gets in there with next. I can't figure it.
Well, like I said, it might be a good while because he is gonna have to fight for little or no money. And Bill ain't about to fucking put him in there for little or no money, so he's liable to sit on the shelf for a long ass time, bro.
With the belt.
He might even drop that belt because they're going to force him to do a mandatory. Sooner or later, he's going to be forced into a mandatory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means he's going to have to fight for little or no money. Or he's going to have to drop the belt.
Probably drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before somebody takes it.
Oh, it's a hell of a thing, huh? All fighters, bro, they took a loss, they got right back in there on the horse, dude, and jumped on the horse and went right back to work.
Yeah, and whoever that lost it to, they wanted to fight them. It didn't happen all the time. They wanted to get their get back.
Absolutely. You know? These guys today, they don't do that, bro. They scared to death after they take a loss from somebody.
Because when they lost those, they really actually thought they could beat that person. They wanted to get back and improve it, that it was a fluke. You know?
Yeah. These guys today, they don't want to prove nothing.
It's totally different. Nah.
These guys today are so worried about taking another loss that they ain't even trying to make a rematch.
Yeah. It's crazy. Because the loss shouldn't hurt you. It should be what you do after the loss.
Right. Prove yourself. Prove it was a fluke. Get in there and prove it. John, what's up?
What's up with y'all? I'm just chilling.
Just talking a little boxing, that's all.
So what's your opinion on all this?
What was it?
We was talking about
fighting again.
I just came back. I didn't know what y'all talking about.
Basically, Devin Haney's situation at 147. Who should he fight and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, hopefully, we don't even know what's going to happen with all the legal stuff. Hopefully, he can fight Rolly. That's a good fight.
Rolly?
Yeah, good luck with it, because I don't see him fighting Rolly, dude. He's right now, Devin's so worried about getting hit that somebody who hits like Rolly, I knew that fight wasn't going to happen.
Who you think he could fight that you'll see him fighting?
That's a good one.
He needs to fight somebody like a Sandor Martin, somebody who ain't got a lot of power, somebody he can get in there and box with and try and get some of his confidence back.
Another point, yeah, somebody like that, but yeah.
Is
Sandor
why
at
he need to get
147
confidence back? He just won. His last fight he won with Norman, he dropped him. Everybody say he was going to get knocked out.
And what did he do after, though, bro? He ran and he hugged the rest of the fight because he was so worried about getting hit. He literally hugged. I thought he was going to hit Brian Norman with a marriage proposal by the end of the fight. He hugged him so many times.
It looked like he just fought a professional fight. Out of anybody who did something in that fight, Devin Haney did. He busted him up and dropped him early, which should go to say he not pillow fisted. And then Brian Norman definitely didn't even drop him or knock him out. He didn't look hurt one time in the fight.
But we was saying that I knew it when Devin moved up and stopped dropping all that weight. His power would get better. because he getting
Yeah,
up there close
I've
to where he
always said I wanted to see what happens with his power if he moves up and actually fights at the weight he's supposed to.
Stop draining himself. Yeah, it had to get
But he's
better.
got to find confidence, dude. If Devin does not get back in there and actually
Yeah,
do
what's
a
up, Juan?
boxing match where he looks
What's
like
going
the
on,
old
brother?
Devin
I
Haney,
apologize. You know what I'm saying?
huh?
But go ahead, old school. I think John was talking to somebody else or something.
Oh. No, Devin's got to get back in there. He's got to fight somebody with no power. He's got to get in there and mix it up, and he's got to find himself.
Is Sandor Martin at 147 now?
I don't know, but Sandor was talking about moving up. That would be the
Yeah,
best thing for Devin.
Yeah, I can't see Devin going back down. Mm-mm. No.
Sandor is a great boxer. He really is. He's got nice skills. His little check left hook is beautiful.
Yeah, that would be a good chess match. That would be a good
It would
one.
be. He
Sandor
doesn't have a
Martin.
lot of power, which is the
Yeah.
best thing for Haney. He needs to get in there with somebody who's not going to drill him.
Yeah.
Sandor Martin don't have that kind of power. He's just going to knock Devin out. So that would be the perfect comeback fight for Devin. He needs somebody that he can get in there and box with and have a full 12 rounds with.
Yeah, that's definitely going the distance. But he would have to fight somebody that's punching sooner or later, though. You know.
Yeah, but for right now, Cass, he's got to find his confidence. And right now, he has none.
That's true, too. Sandor would be good. I can't think of nobody else in that mode. That's 147 now, though.
Yeah, I'd have to look through that. I'd have to
Where's
really look
Rashidi
through
Ellis
them.
at now? Is Rashidi
Huh?
still around? Where is Rashidi Ellis still around?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Rashidi.
A long time.
It's been a while since I've heard anything about Rashidi Ellis. That would be
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah, that might be good for him.
Another one, Richardson Hitchens, if he moves up.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they was going back and they've been going back and forth for a while now too. That would be
Right,
perfect.
Hitchens ain't got a ton of power, so he'd be a good confidence builder for Devin. If
Yeah, that
Devin
would be
can beat
perfect.
him, I think
Yeah,
Richardson Hitchens is the better version of Devin.
Yeah, that would be good. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Devin Haney and Richardson Hitchens. Yeah, that would be a
Yep,
beautiful match.
both of them are boxer first. Then neither one of them are punchers.
Yeah, and he ain't got to worry about no whole bunch of power. What's coming back from Hitchens? Because ain't nothing gonna knock Hitchens ain't gonna knock nobody out. Although he has, but
Yeah.
he ain't
He would have to
punching like
drill Devin all night. It would have to be an accumulation of punches for him to get
Yeah.
Devin out of there.
and that ain't gonna happen. Mm-mm.
Devin's got enough defense to keep that from happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Devin's biggest problem on defense, and I've said this for 3 or 4 years, is he's very slow reacting to when punches are coming back at him.
Mm.
Which is why Ryan kept drilling him with the same punch, because he couldn't get his damn hands back in place to keep from getting hit, because he's that slow thinking when it comes to punches coming at him.
Mm. Yeah. You don't
Like,
think?
See when he throws that right to the body that he throws, he extends himself when he throws it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the uppercut every time he throws it. He is wide open for the uppercut.
Yeah.
That's the punch I thought Tank would knock him out with.
Yeah, he leans some too when he throws that. You know.
Yeah. And his hands come down immediately when he throws the body punch.
Yeah,
If he'd have fought Tank and he'd have done that body shot shit to Tank would have nailed him, dude.
your Tank would have stopped him. Definitely
Absolutely.
would stop Devin. You know, because like we were saying, Ryan put him down all the time. I mean, like, he ain't gonna keep getting up when Tank put him down like that. You know. Mm-mm.
And the whole night, people don't look at this. They all look at the left hook of Ryan, but that right hand for Ryan was drilling the crap out of Devin, which is why Devin's face was all blown up on the left side.
Yeah. He got to where he wasn't just worrying about that left hook. He had other stuff to worry about too in that fight. It wasn't just the left hook. No.
Right. And Tank's right hand is nasty as well.
Yeah. Tank is a
All them
very
punches he
skillful
took,
boxer.
Ryan, he wouldn't have took all them punches from Tank.
And Tank is better at setting up his shots than Ryan, too. Way better, you know? Way
Oh,
better.
absolutely, dude. Look, bro, Tank is a thinking man in the ring. That's why, bro, it's like, when I first started watching Tank, I
Yeah.
fell in love with Tank because I was like, man, this dude not only has power, but wow, the way he thinks his way through the fight, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
It reminded
Yeah.
me of the old timers, the way they used to think their way through fights.
Yeah.
Shit you just don't see no more. These dudes fight today like robots. They got one certain style. They've been fighting it since the amateurs, and that's what they stay with.
They don't set traps or nothing. Tank set
No,
traps.
dude, they quit learning. Look, when these guys get a belt these days, they quit learning. They think, oh yeah, well, that got me the belt, I'm staying with it. And they don't learn nothing new.
Yeah. I'm sticking with it. And like Larry Holmes was saying, a lot of it is that they don't have the trainers like the old school trainers neither.
Yeah. That's what I've been asking. Is it a lack of trainers? It's the reason why these fighters fight like this.
Yeah.
Another thing is they don't fight enough.
No, that's a big one. That's a big one.
It's a huge one. The old school had to figure it out, dude, because they fought so much and they fought so many different styles. If they didn't figure it out, they were getting knocked out constantly.
Because you can only get so much experience out of sparring. It ain't like under the lights, you know, with somebody trying to knock you out.
But everybody is fighting damn near the same style, the amateur freaking style these days.
Yeah.
So when you get in there with somebody, you know what they're going to do already, you know?
And they look at 3 times a year like you did something.
Right.
Guys was fighting 10, 15 times a year back then, man.
Hell, even 6 to 10 times a year would have, you know.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I'm worried about with Dana White and what he's building over there. Because the champions over there, when he finally starts getting champions, these guys are going to be fighting 3 to 5 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
If they ever decide they're going to take the Zuffa champions and fight the regular fucking fighter champions, and these guys are still only fighting once a year, how do you think that's going to pan out when you're fighting a champion that's fighting 3 to 5 times a year?
It ain't going to end good.
No, it ain't going to end good.
The one fighting the most going to definitely end up being the better fighters.
And that's what's going to put regular boxing under.
Even if they ain't the most talented fighters, they're going to still be winning because they're going to be in there fighting.
Right.
More acclimated, you know?
They're going to have the experience because they're fighting multiple styles. They're fighting multiple people multiple times a year. They're going to have the experience.
That make a difference.
It makes an absolute difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the things that worry me about boxing these days because Dana White could steal the whole show, dude. If the promoters like Bob, Al, Eddie, and Oscar, if they don't get their damn shit together and start getting these guys in the freaking ring and fighting more, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, these promoters now, they shield their fighters too much, you know?
They do.
The promoters like more worried about the old than the fighters damn near.
They are. They absolutely are.
Look how Oscar did Virgil.
I'm gonna give you a perfect example, and that's AJ. Eddie Hearn kept AJ away from Wilder because he knew.
For years.
Yeah. He knew that AJ kept his head on the freaking line. He knew that right hand of Wilder's was going to drill the crap out of him. So they avoided Wilder by all costs to the point where they lost out on the biggest fight this fucking sport has had in generations.
Mm-hmm. It still never happened. Not going to happen now.
Could you imagine how high that pay-per-view would have been sold for that fight if it would have happened when they were both in their prime?
Yeah, and then had it in Wembley or somewhere over there. And that place would have been packed. In the stadium.
The pay-per-view numbers would have been 2 or 3 million.
Astronomical. Yeah,
Yeah, it would have.
been up there
But
like a
Dad, good old Eddie protecting his champion screwed the pooch.
Yeah, he sure did. Look at Oscar. Oscar, he didn't want Ryan to fight Tank, remember?
Right.
Mm-mm. He don't
Which
want
is
Virgil to fight Boots.
That's why I knew Boots and Virgil was not going to happen, because Ryan lost to Tank. You think Oscar was going to take his last moneymaker and put him in the ring with somebody that could dethrone him?
Yeah, and it was Oscar was worrying about the way Boots might beat him too. Look what happened to Vila.
Yeah,
Boots beat the fight out of that man.
absolutely.
You know, so Oscar was worried about that too. Like, damn, Virgil might never be the same again.
What's that guy's name? Boacek?
Yeah,
Virgil
Boacek.
fought.
Yeah,
Go back and look at that fight between Virgil and Boacek. Boacek was landing on fucking Virgil the whole fight.
Didn't they drop him twice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Boots is a hell of a lot more skilled than Boacek.
Yeah.
You
Boacek
bet
is
your ass
basically-
that's what was running through Oscar's head when he was thinking about the fight. Because Oscar ain't stupid, bruh.
Mhm.
Oscar
Boacek-
knows what he sees.
Yeah, Boacek was basically one-dimensional, just coming forward, throwing punches, you know.
Right.
And he was getting to Virgil. Virgil couldn't stop him.
Right.
So Oscar
And we
had
know
to-
Boots is multidimensional.
Yeah.
There's only a few fighters that could have survived back in the old days. I give Usyk a chance, I give
Yeah.
Boots a chance, and I give Tank a chance, and maybe Monster.
Yeah, because Usyk can box.
Right.
He's so skilled, you know, with his boxing. Yeah. And Monster.
And I don't know if Bud Crawford could handle back then, because we've never seen Bud Crawford in a fight with a 50-50 fight.
And somebody in their prime. I can't
Right.
think of anybody.
There ain't nobody.
Mm-mm.
I went over his record multiple times. There was nobody.
Mm-mm.
Which is why I got all the questions and why people jump my ass and every fucking thing else about Bud, but prove me wrong.
Oh shit. I can't see it, old school.
Well, bro, you
Yeah.
can sit there, you can sit there and make these casuals look like fools, but somebody like us, Cass, old, who knows the sport, who's been around, seen all of these old school fighters fight, you're not gonna bluff us.
Because like we were saying earlier, Sean Porter, that was his last fight. Sean Porter. Earl haven't fought no more. Cal Brook was basically an exhibition against Amir Khan once he fought Bud. You know?
Right.
So all these guys are like at the end of their careers, man.
Every one of them.
Yeah. What was you saying?
And think
John?
about it.
I like the conversation we was having. I just had to take a call real quick. About Devin. Like, I understand how you feel about Devin, OG. I'm just looking at the Brian Norman fight. Like, dad, he can't even. If he win, he still lose. Like, everybody was saying Brian Norman was gonna knock him out. Like, in that fight, I was like, Brian Norman ain't.
I just
Not every single person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the narrative was like they was giving Brian Norman credit that he never had proven in the ring, and he actually proved otherwise, and that was just based off his last performance with the devastating knockout. The Asian guy, I forgot his name. So
Yeah,
it's
but
just
who would
like,
the Asian guy be?
no,
who would
but
the Asian
it's
guy
not
be?
even
No,
about
it's
that. It's
still
about
Asian.
Devin, though. It's about Devin, because they were saying that Devin, like, the narrative behind Devin, that he fisted at Chinny, and
Yeah,
that
but the
Brian
whole
was
thing
going.
was
Brian
if
was going to
Brian
stop
Norman
him.
lands the punch, dude, and
Right. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like where Devin, he went in there, he showed to not be pillow fisted. He busted Brian Norman up,
and
then
I give him credit for all of
and
that.
then he easily won the fight. He never got hurt. So
But
the credit go to Devin Haney. Like, when it comes to
It's
that,
the
that was
way
his
he-
last performance. So I don't see how after that it's still a narrative of like he need to get in there with somebody that's
because it's the
gonna be an
way he
easy
finished
day.
the fight. He should have finished Norman on the spot. He should have finished him through the rest of the fight. But instead of him
But he's not
literally
even
trying to
known to be that
outbox
type of
Norman through
fighter,
the rest
though.
of the fight, Devin spent the rest of the fight hugging on Norman, trying to not to get hit. He didn't try to finish
I
it.
seen
He didn't
Norman
try to box
initiate.
him.
I seen Norman initiating a lot of those clinches, and I feel like that's
Yeah,
been
because
put on
Norman was
Devin.
scared
Like
too. Norman didn't think Devin had any power, and he definitely missed.
Yeah.
He definitely thought he was going to beat Devin easily.
Norman
So
drank the
this
Kool-Aid. Norman
this
was
my
listening to what
perspective
everybody
on
was
that.
saying. That's why
Because
he
I'm
made
not
his
even
mistake.
I'm not even disagreeing with you completely. I get what you saying, where you coming from. I'm just saying, Devin, he's a professional boxer. He's not known to be a finisher anyway. He's known to be a 12-round fighter. Like the times he finished is more early in his career. And he did his job like a professional boxer supposed to. Why would you risk any more damage and you already got the fight in the bag?
All right,
And
Kev, what's
hold
that guy's
on.
name?
It was
Linares?
still times where, like, when Devin dropped him, he turned up. Right after he dropped him, Devin turned up. Like, you
Kev,
look
what's
at the
that guy's name? Linares that Devin fought that dropped him.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Linares.
Go back
Yeah,
and
Jorge
watch Devin
Linares.
in that fight after he got
See-
dropped.
see-
Go back and watch the whole fight, and then compare that to the Brian Norman fight.
See, in the Brian Norman fight, that was nothing like what he did in Linares' fight
Yeah,
because
because he fought Linares. Even after he got dropped, he got right back in there
Yeah.
and started bumping them hands and actually fighting. He didn't do that with Brian Norman at all.
no, with Linares, that's what he was actually doing in the Linares fight. He was holding once he got clipped. But in the beginning, he was standing in the pocket. He was whooping Linares. Linares was frustrated because he landed one good shot, and he was frustrated though. That's why he did the little thing he did, like go ahead to your corner. Because at the end of the day, you landed one lucky punch, but Devin was whooping you the whole fight, and that's why he easily just clinched to the victory at the end. In Brian Norman fight, he whooped Brian in the beginning rounds, and then he easily did the victory. That's what Devin did.
But Devin
I
in the
feel like he
Linares
getting a
fight
bad
was
rap.
fighting. He was actually fighting. He didn't do that. He didn't do that against Brian Norman. And Brian,
How is he not
after
actually
he dropped
fighting?
Brian Norman, all he wanted to do was clinch,
Mhm.
barely throw any punches, and keep from getting. All he was worried about was getting hit after that.
But what he did in the Linares fight was immature as a professional fighter.
Yeah, well, he was actually
And
fighting.
he's known to fight like that, though. That's his style. He's known to be a 12-round fighter.
I get it, but you got to fight. He wasn't fighting in the second part of he wasn't fighting after the third round against Brian Norman. He was surviving.
I feel like Brian Norman had to fight. He was down. So he's the one who had to fight.
They both should have been fighting.
Devin
Brian
won.
Norman tried to stage a comeback towards the end round. Huh?
Yeah, I knew Norman was too inexperienced going in
He was.
to that fight.
He absolutely was.
And
he had no
where
idea
you
what to
learn
do
that
after he
from?
got clipped.
Where you
And
learn
Norman
that from
listened to
is
all the hype. Like Jar was saying, Norman, everybody was saying all the stuff about Norman was going to do, and Norman made the mistake of listening to that nonsense, right?
Yeah, he
And then
did.
he got in there and realized he couldn't do that, you know?
Well, even his
But-
daddy said they definitely underestimated Devin's power.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Mhm.
So look at this perspective. Some fighters, like if it's Tank, we ain't getting paid for overtime. Get him out of there. But Tank has that style to do that. With Devin, that's not his style. That would be stupid for him to say, we don't get paid for overtime. Let me knock him out. That means you also got to factor in, let me take a risk of getting knocked out myself or getting clipped myself, like I just learned from the Linares fight. When I had the fight in the bag, then I try to prove something, and then I get clipped and almost lost that fight. And you learn that from old school fighters. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You learn that from the old school.
So what?
If you go up in the first half of the fight, then the person who was down, like if you win the first 6 rounds, the person who was down is in desperation to the point they gotta win every round for it to even be a draw or to get the decision, or they gotta get a knockout. That's old as boxing. That's not nothing new.
The problem, look, here's the problem with what we're talking about. Devin now, because of these last 2 fights looking very subpar, nobody wants to pay Devin big money like he's asking for. And nobody is going to pay Devin big money like he's asking for until he fixes the subpar performances. He's got to get back to the old Devin where he's actually in there fighting. He can't go in there and just try to survive every damn fight. He's not going to get paid for that. That's why he can't get a fight now. Turkey is busy. Their money is tied up with this war, so he's not getting paid from Turkey. So now Devin is stuck with the old promoters who are not going to pay him that kind of money to go in there and put in that kind of performance.
He literally just fought not too long ago, and then that's never been true for Devin. That he's not going to get paid and not going to get fights.
Yeah,
he always
because
get
back
paid.
then he was fighting.
He's still getting the fights. No,
right now he's
never, not back then. He just had a fight with Brian Norman. He's still getting paid every fight.
What did he just say? What did he just say about the Rolly fight? About the money?
That's just to keep his name relevant. He's got to worry about going to court.
I know, but what did he say about the money with Rolly?
I don't know what he said. He said
that they wasn't paying him enough.
Right. Look,
that's what he said.
This is what I see in that anyway. Look, he can't fight Rolly right now if they offer him the money that he wants. He can't fight right now. He can't even take a fight right now. He's suspended. So that's just to keep his name relevant. Devin. Oh, Devin. That's just to keep his name relevant. Why he know he can't even take a fight right now.
Yeah, well, you bet your ass if he'd have took that fight, they'd have found a way to get him off that suspension, because that's what these promoters do.
Literally, Tank going through the same thing. A court case. You can't just. You're not going to be above the law.
Tank can fight right now.
Ways.
Tank ain't suspended right now at all.
He's already going through a long process in his court case, though. Devin is at the beginning of his. He can't fight.
Tank has come toward the end of his, ain't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the crazy
part? I think it's more the fans who be doing all of this stuff for Devin and make it they saying his name right now, and it make it seem like it's even a possibility for him to even take a fight right now, just to keep his name. Right now, we don't even have to talk about Devin unless it's like, I hope the court case go well for him or whatever you want to feel about it. That's the only thing we can really say solidly.
Let's talk about Tank for a second. So now, where are all of these channels that were bashing this kid? Literally calling him a woman beater and all that shit. Where are they at now?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Where are they at now that it's coming out that the woman lied on him? Again.
Crickets, man. Crickets.
Right.
These people are
they ain't saying a goddamn word, but they were quick to bash him. I mean, multiple lives, multiple posts, multiple videos.
Yeah, the man on the way to prison. The Martians.
Now they ain't saying a damn thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they were saying, don't even talk about him. He out of boxing. He ain't fighting no more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're saying all that.
So I'm just like, literally, I ain't saying that about Devin, but the truth of the matter is he can't take a fight right now. So the reason why he's been like talked about is because of that very reason. Keep his name relevant. Why he got all this stuff going on. He can't even take a fight right now.
Which court case is he going through right now, John?
They talking about the Tiger Johnson when they banked Tiger Johnson.
Situation.
And he involved in it.
I didn't know that. Wow.
He involved in it, and so he got to go through that before he could even take a fight. So like, and then Rolly,
it's not no kind of criminal charges. It's civil.
I don't know exactly. Okay. I'm not gonna lie and act like I know everything. That's just easy to know.
I don't know, Cass. They put out a warrant.
He's
Cap,
suspended
they put
right
out a
now.
warrant for it, which means that it's got to be criminal now.
Wow, I didn't know none of that.
I figure it's criminal because they was literally putting hands and feet on him. A
Yeah,
group of
Yep.
people.
They put out a warrant for him. When they put out a warrant, that's
I didn't
criminal.
know that. I didn't even know none of that. Wow. Damn.
Yeah, like, and then Rolly, he probably doing that. He using that too. Like, and that's going. They probably really want to make this fight, I believe. And then Devin, right now, he negotiating while he's still going through this. Like, oh, they ain't paying me enough. So he just trying to negotiate his price right now. That's just about negotiations. Like he putting that out there. Like I want to get big money, like I always get. That's all that is. That's all that is. Like when they come to that,
just keep your eyes
and Rolly
on that.
know that too. So Rolly, he going to talk his talk, so he could big himself up. Like Rolly know that.
Well, y'all, all I'm gonna tell you is keep your eyes out on what you were just saying about him getting paid, because I'm telling you, he's in a bad position, and these regular promoters are not going to give him what he wants. Sooner or later, he's going to have to answer for his mandatory. He's either going to have to drop the belt, or he's going to have to fight for peanuts to fight his mandatory.
Why though? I feel like that's never been the case for him. I'm not saying I disagree though. I'm just saying
He's got a belt. He's got a belt.
Time,
he's going to have a mandatory.
Not cause of the belt. I'm saying that he gonna have to fight for crumbs. He's never had to do that. Far as like once he getting paid, he getting paid.
What happened with that? Wasn't his? What fight was it where it was there was only one freaking person that did the purse bid for him? Nobody else offered a dime up for the purse bid.
What fight you talking about?
I don't know. They were talking about it on Knockout. Was talking about it on his channel the other night. I forget who he said.
I don't know what fight you talking. Devin is more like a.
That was the Godfather doing all of those. Couldn't have been Cambosis. That was
Devin. To me, it's like an independent. Like so, in some cases, he makes sacrifices. Like somebody else is always signed to somebody, and it's basically like, oh, I'm signed with you for life. I'm loyal to this company or whatever. Devin is somebody that's more like independent. Like I signed for you for this deal, and then I do whatever I want. So when in his case, if it's like the purse bid situation, you saying he's an independent fighter. That's how he moves.
Remember Cambosis? He was signed. Still independent, but he was signed to Bobby Evans for 3 fights. Then remember, he had the 2 Cambosis, and then the Loma fight. Then he was out of that contract. Yeah. So
what did he get from Bob? Wasn't it like 1.5 or 2.5? That because remember everybody was blowing a fit because he was getting peanuts.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was.
I think the last fight he got with Bob was the one he got paid with, but the first 2 he got peanuts.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out
that's the way he moves his whole career. Like he's an independent boxer. Like I move here, I do what I want. I might sign with you a couple of fights, but he's getting paid. He's getting paid. He don't gotta stay nowhere. So he can make fights with any promotional company he want when other fighters can't do that. That's the disadvantage.
Paid.
Like sometimes you gotta take a sacrifice. But like far as Turkey, his money was already promised.
Yeah, well,
that's not even nothing to worry about.
Putting out shit right now. So Devin's kind of screwed. He's either gonna have to work with these other promoters or sit on the sidelines.
He just fought though, so it's too soon to say that. And he got a court. He's in the middle of a court case, so it's too soon to say that Turkey ain't doing this and ain't doing that. Like he literally just fought.
Well, no, Turkey said they ain't doing shit because they got the war going on over there. Turkey's money is tied up in the war right now.
So it ain't about that Turkey not investing in Devin. That's not real.
Hell, Shakur's been waiting on Turkey to put up money for his fight, and Shakur ain't even got no money for a fight yet.
Right, just stuff going on. It's not like he got to get desperate though.
Yeah.
Who
Well,
you
look,
think-
Cass, I got to run, man.
Yeah, I do too. But real quick, who you think Shakur going to be in there with next? Any ideas?
I think
No.
you talking to me.
Morataya.
Morotai. Who you think, Joe?
That's who I think.
Morotai. Okay, that's a good one.
Because he said he wants to move back down to 135.
Yeah, that's
Morataya
what
is
he
talking
said.
about moving up to 140. So where
Yeah.
will they fight? Who knows? But
Probably
that's
be
the name
140.
being floating around.
The best bet would probably be 140. Because Shakur fought their Morotai coming up. So yeah, that's what I would think.
Thing is, well, will Morataya drop his belt to fight at 140? Is the question.
You have to do. There's some good options at 135 for Morotai right now. You know?
There is.
Yeah.
Shit. I want to see him fight what you call it?
Roach.
I want to see him fight Roach. I want to see him fight somebody else. I want to see him fight Shakur. I want to see him fight Tank.
I wouldn't mind seeing Morotai and the other
Morotai.
Mexican guy. What's the last Mexican guy Shakur beat? Zepeda? I wouldn't mind seeing Morotai and him.
Oh, Abdullah.
Yeah. So I don't know if Morotai are going to move up because he got a lot of options at 135.
Morataya and Abdullah would be a hell of a fight.
Yeah. Oh man.
I think Devin might wind up fighting before Shakur because, like, I think
You think
people
so? At what
Yeah,
weight?
'cause with Devin at
Yeah.
147.
147.
Like-
okay.
Like, I think he might wind up fighting Raleigh before Shakur even get another fight. I think fighting Shakur, people like he probably would have already had a fight lined up with Lamont Roach. But I don't think Shakur is good at not at negotiating. I don't think he's good at doing something like sacrificing a big payday one time just so you can have a whole bunch of big paydays later down the line. So I think people
The
don't want to fight
the
Shakur
problem
because
is-
of that.
Is his promoter Prince.
Yeah. Jay Prince.
Prince ain't giving up his millions to promote Shakur, and that's why the Tank fight's never going to happen. Because in order for Shakur to fight Tank, he's going to have to take the little 2.5 or 3 million down, and then get the back end money. And with that happening, Jay Prince ain't getting a bunch of money for that fight, unless Shakur gives him money off the back end. Because that 2.5 or 3 million, that ain't shit for Jay Prince to fucking snatch out of.
I think he might actually get the Tank fight before he could get any other fight with somebody at 140 or 135. I think he could get a Tank fight before any of that stuff.
He keeps
Like,
saying, I don't
make
need
that
Tank. Like he don't want to be the B side. He definitely the B side.
I don't think he wants to fight Tank.
I think he want to fight Tank because that's his biggest opportunity, and Tank probably the only one that really is like ready and willing to fight him. I don't think nobody
Yeah,
else
like,
want to fight
really.
him because of his style and because of his business style.
And that
Yeah,
fight
well,
gonna
think about
sell.
this. Think about this. Steven Espinoza offered Shakur a fight with Tank. And what did he do? Shakur said, oh, no, I got to have a 3-fight deal to fight Tank. Now, does that sound like Shakur wants to fight Tank?
Why would you do the
Right.
3-fight deal? Just fight him.
That's what I'm
he's not-
saying, Cass.
He's worried
Why-
about his
No, that's crazy.
longevity.
That's
Why
crazy.
would
He's
you
worried
throw a
about his
3-fight
longevity.
roadblock up if you really wanted to fight the man? Why would you throw a 3-fight roadblock up if you really wanted to fight
It
him?
seems like the same thing as pricing yourself out or something.
That's
Same
exactly
I
what it
think-
was.
I think he more worried about the business and he more worried about his status as a boxer. Like, I think he do actually want to take that fight and he believe that he could win. But I think when it come to that, that was way younger Shakur doing that.
No, that wasn't that
like-
long ago.
Hold on, like
It was not that.
so-
It was about a year or so ago.
So okay, so like, all right, that was a year or so ago, but a lot could happen in that amount of time, right? So that's when he felt like he was bigger than what he actually is. I feel like he still talk big, but I
Mhm.
could see a lot of humbleness in him, where he was starting to realize like I may have to take a sacrifice to get a fight at all at this point.
The
Mhm.
problem is always going to be Jay Prince wanting his money. That's going to be the whole hang up between him and Tank. because Jay Prince is going to want to get paid, and he's not going to want to take no little cheesy 500,000 or $1 million. He's going
Right.
to want big money for Shakur to get in the ring.
That's all one and the same though. I feel like Jay Prince and Shakur, they on the same page with that.
Mm.
Well, then
I don't separate
BBC is
that.
not going to give him that. BBC is going to tell him, look, we're going to give you $2.5 to $3 million up front, and you're going to have to earn the rest on the back end.
On the back end.
And that's why I say I think Devin will wind up fighting Raleigh before even.
But old school,
Well-
can Shakur pay Jay Prince his money out of the back end? Because it's going to be a
That's
big
what I keep saying.
and everything, man. That's funny.
That's what I keep saying. But is Jay Prince willing to take a chance just in case the fight don't sell? Which we know it will, but that's what they think.
Jay Prince wanted a guarantee. That's what it sounds like.
Damn right he wants a guarantee.
Yeah.
All right, Cass, I gotta go, bro. I gotta piss
Yeah, I do
everything.
too, man. But you got anything else, Jaw? Jaw, you still in here? Yeah, we're gonna get ready to close it down.
Thanks for having me up, Cass.
Oh, always a pleasure, old school. Always.
All right, y'all, take it easy.
Okay, you too.
Peace
Still
out.
in here, Jaw? Yeah, Jaw, you got anything else before we get up out of Dodge? I think Jaw must have dropped off too. Wow, we've been on here a minute. Yeah, Just Do Boxing is there's Aunt McQueen. Okay, at the tail end of the top rank deal. My question is, why wouldn't Steven Espinoza look to secure him further in the event that he was successful versus Tank? Yeah. Sir, yeah, that's a good question, man. Yeah, why not take the give him the 3-fight deal? That is a very good observation right there. Yeah. Why not? If I was Steven Espinoza, I would have did that. It's Shakur. Tank was not the only big fight that they could have got out of him. Yeah. But okay, yeah, we got to get ready to get out of here. Today it was old school and Jaw. Mr. J.H., my cousin, Jaw. Okay, but everybody have tomorrow back to the 1990s again. Yeah. Damn, man, I wish you would have been up here and we was doing all that. That is very good observation right there. Yeah. Why wouldn't Steven Espinoza secure him further? Very good question. You know? Because they had some other fighters they could put Shakur in there against and make the money. Very good investment in the event that he was successful versus Tank. And you know that's going to be, whew. They were saying like that was one of the biggest fights in boxing, Shakur and Tank. But let me get out of here. That'd be the start of a whole nother conversation. But yeah, Shakur and Tank, one of the biggest fights in the sport, man, I think. But everybody have a great afternoon. Hope everybody enjoyed today's show. We're going to be back on the 90s tomorrow. Tomorrow, some fighters. Like I said, B-Hop, Lights Out, The Body Snatcher, Oscar Floyd, Tito, Michael Second, and all those guys that fought in that frame. We're going to talk about their careers, them, their backgrounds, all of that tomorrow. Because if it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Everybody have a great afternoon, and I appreciate y'all 1,000,000%.